Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. Just left committee. Had some amendments that were cutting regulation, things that we should as Republicans do, because of backroom deals they cut. They won't allow any amendments on the bill because the Democrats one Democrat didn't agree to it. So here we are in the majority, and we're not allowed to do that. And I'll guarantee you when the Democrats are in the majority, which they very much could be because of this kind of garbage. We're going to be in the majority. You all have extended us an incredible gift, and we're going to blow it because we're not acting like we're in the majority. We got opportunity. It's not sexy. Deals with bridges and things. Anyway, the amendment did. And we allow the Democrats to tell us what to do. It's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
At some point, we're going to have to get some guts.
Get some guts.
This town is crooked as a dog's leg. And I'm disgusted.
Yep,
so,
I would be too.
Thank y'all for sending me here. I really am glad you sent me here. This kind of stuff I want to fight.
Fight it. Do something.
Anyway.
Get it done.
Thank y'all.
Get it done. What's up, everybody? I'm Jim. I'm here to tell you some news. How's it going tonight? Got some good stories to talk about tonight. Got a whole bunch of stuff. How you doing, American Jane? Sherry Gatlin, awesome to see you. Delay is obvious. Good to see you. Gundam, awesome to have you here. Jules, great to see you. Hey, everybody, been lurking. I'm working. Lurking while working. That's great. Thanks for being here. Make sure you hit the like button. HJ Remy's here, too. Awesome to see you. None of your business was first. Hello to the best chatters in the world. Well, that's right. You guys are the best. Can't get any better. Fletcher Boy's here. Tell him, Jim, I mostly love my state. That's right. Tim Burchett, good guy. Sweet Daydreams, what's up? Family here. That's right, everybody. So, yeah, just like always, we got a bunch of new stories to talk about. We got that whole stuff about the smelly fraud up there in Minnesota, and the Aimee Bock getting sentenced. We're going to talk about the differences, maybe that she's been scapegoated and stuff like that. We're also going to talk about a crazy lady down in Texas that went nuts. It was going to be a new member of the squad. They were backing her, and now all of a sudden she starts talking about doing all types of things like castrating people and putting them in camps. And the people that she's talking about putting in camps, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let me just say, these people don't take likely to be talked about putting in camps. What's up, Nixie Nix? How you doing? Fran VT, what's up, Queen? Hey, Jonathan Marcus is here too. Hello, how you doing? So yeah, just like always, there's a goal as there is every night. When we hit, if we hit $100 in total donations across all platforms, super chats, Rumble rants, gifted memberships, becoming members, Cash App, PayPal, Coffee, Ko-Fi, super tips. Also, if we hit Rumble rants or Kick and Twitch memberships and locals coins. When we hit 100, we activate an extra hour for each additional $100 that comes in. We activate another additional hour to the show. When we hit 50, we activate Bella Vision for the evening. There's Bella. She does tricks if she gets enough money. And unless somebody is generous enough that they donate $25 as an individual donation, then we automatically activate Bella Vision for the evening. What's up, Lurchlinger? Great to see you. K Beans here. Awesome. Great to have the good mods here. Mama Pill's here too. CF Rob's here, and so's Ginger. What's up? So let's go. Let's jump right into the first news story of the evening. How about that? All right. So there's Bella. We'll pull her down now until until she comes gets called to the main stage. All righty, let's go. So the Democrats decided to release their 2024 election autopsy that the chair says does not meet my standards. Hey, Muffin Rando, great for having you here. Thanks for being here. What's up, Boom Boom? Good to see you. Fletcher Boy says, I'm going to be lurking. Starship version 3 launch in about 25 minutes. Well, let me know. Is it launching from down here in Florida? Yeah, well, Bella Vision, sure, she could be. 911 says, as you know, people on our side respect you. Well, thank you so much, 911 Scholar. Thank you so much. Thank you. With that $9.11, that means we are now, let's call it, we are $91 away from adding a first additional hour to the show. Actually, we'll call it, $91 and $41 away from Bellavision. I'll try to keep track of the 11 cents, but it's too hard to do it on the, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Texas, they're launching from. Oh, that stinks. But thank you so much, 911 Scholar. So let's see what we got here.
Well, we've been waiting for we've been waiting for this. The DNC finally releasing its autopsy report on the 2024 presidential election. DNC Chair Ken Martin writing, I am not proud of this product. It does not meet my standards, and it won't meet your standards. I don't endorse what's in this report or what's left out of it. Shannon Bream is the anchor of Fox News Sunday. She joins us now. So this just happened. Why do you think he thinks that it does? Well, do you know why it doesn't meet his standards or why he thinks people will be disappointed?
Well, we're going through what CNN says is this report. We haven't verified it independently, but it's got all kinds of notations on it that are apparently the DNC's objections or questions that it had. And Ken Martin says he initially didn't release this after he had commissioned it because there wasn't source material. They felt there were issues with it and they wanted to see more, pull more together before they'd release it. And then he said after we had some success in these special elections and other things, I didn't want to release it because I thought it would be a distraction. Then I realized it was a distraction not releasing it. So CNN says it's gotten its hands on this thing and what they're purporting that it is. It talks about a lot of different things in here. They say Democrats have lost ground at every level from inconsistent messaging and improper planning. They talk about funding and not equipping their state parties. And, the document I'm looking at goes on a deep dive through a number of state races, down to the attorney general level and looking at where things matched and didn't match with messaging and voting. And they said, in some of these cases that you couldn't just have a message that we're anti-Trump. We hate President Trump or he's not good for us. He's not good for the country. You have to have your own independent messaging. So it's nearly 200 pages. We're starting to dig through it and would like to independently verify it ourselves as well.
There's going to be a lot of reaction. David Axelrod's already out there. He called this a needless waste of time, given the current challenges.
I think this is a distraction. We're going to get into what it's a distraction of.
And by not releasing, he drew a lot more attention to it, Shannon.
Yeah. And people want to know, okay, were there, secret hidden smoking guns in here that pointed fingers at certain people or candidates or funders or, what was it there that you didn't want people to see? And would it be more beneficial to just use it internally for the party to make some corrections on its own? But again, my quick review of these 200 pages purported to be that report show all kinds of deep dives into where messaging worked, where it didn't. And there seems to be an acknowledgement that there were times that it was a about the candidates, that the policies themselves tested well, or ballot measures that were about specific policies that aligned with Democrats did pass and did do well, but the candidates didn't perform as well in those districts and states as well. So it seems like there's a lot to chew on. But again, there are a lot of notes on there in red that are purportedly from DNC staffers or their interests saying, hey, we need more information. This doesn't meet our standard. What's the sourcing for this? So it's clear that they felt, as Chairman Martin is saying, it doesn't meet prime time. It's not ready for release. And I'm sure he's going to feel that way about this document if it turns out to be the real thing.
Martin's in trouble. We'll find out about that. We got another story for you. Go ahead.
Well, we don't have much time, but the mayor in Seattle, she is trying to.
All right, well, that's we're not going to talk about that.
Walk back some comments. This is what she said originally about Starbucks.
All right, that's not really about the story. We're going to get into the story, but before we get into the story, I just want to say hi to Lynn P. Great to see you. Mr. Sneaky Sean, good to see you here. It's flying high in Texas. Yeah, I fixed it, Node. I just didn't want to do that math real quick. American Jane, awesome to see you. John Gold, hey, what's up? Thanks for being here. John Gould. Kofi says, might not be able to stay long tonight. We'll stay as long as you can. It's always great to have you here. Fletcher Boyce is just on. Is Libby watching the big rocket launch? Yes. K Bean says, you make me proud. Does the first line report say we shouldn't have picked a moron? Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord.
Tactical assessment. Red Chinese victory. Impossible. America will never fall to communist invasion. Communism is the very definition of failure.
Thank you so much for that 9911. That means we just hit the goal completely. So we got an additional extra hour to the show, and Bellavision is activated. Thank you so much. 911 Scholar says, what the heck? Just wanted you to have to work a bit more before the weekend. Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Wow. That's awesome. Kevin says, okay, I'm loving the chat now. Thank you so much, 911 Scholar. We're going to correct that in 1 minute here. So much going on. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Nothing Booer. Nothing Booger, nothing Burger, nothing Boer. Ryan says, I'm not sure. Hey, what's up, Sober V Tech? Kyle Busch dead at 41. Yes, that's crazy. He was born in 1985 and he died. We're gonna see. Maybe we'll look at that one. Nice one. Boom Shakalaka says. First question I always wonder about. Yeah, if he was jabbed. I got my surgical cast off in a splint for 2 weeks. Well, I hope you're getting better. Yes, Bellavision is here. Putting Bella to work early. Yes. Yes. Now I have to sit through another hour. Obviously kidding. Well, that's awesome, right? So that means now I have to do more math here. So that means we are. Let's see. Hold on. I got to do math. I got to get a calculator out. This is crazy. So let's see. Clear 9911 minus 822. Okay, so 822 off of the 100. So we are now $91.78 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. Wow. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. 91, I think. No, it's what did I get it down to? 91.78. You're driving. So yeah, well, it's close. 91.78. It's 91.78. So let's go. So DNC chair, what is this? Close that. DNC chair Ken Martin is publicly disowning the party's own 2022 election autopsy, calling the long-delayed report a product that doesn't meet his standards. All right. After the Democrats suffered a painful and consequential defeat to President Trump. The blunt admission came as Martin described Kamala Harris's defeat as a punch to the gut. Shouldn't really be a punch to the gut. You know, and the brand is in trouble, needs repair. I'm not proud of the product, doesn't meet my standards. He could not in good faith put the DC stamp of approval on it. Martin emphasized he was releasing a report for the sake of transparency. Dems demand release of hidden autopsy. Yeah. Why would you want to release it? The report argues, all right, that the Dems weakened their own political infrastructure through cuts to state party support, declining voter registration, mistakes it says the Republicans made gains with voters that the Democrats have increasingly struggled to reach. DNC has standards, yes, but they're all double standards. So, annotations appear in a report. So, title page. So here's the report. It's 192 pages. This report is 192 pages. Wow. In one section, the report claims that Harris's campaign appears to have relied on Trump being unacceptable rather than building an affirmative case for Harris. That's what she did. There's no to which an annotation reads, no evidence provided for this claim. What are you talking about? So they're just basically, they can't say that Harris was bad because that would be criticizing a black woman, and they can't do that. They should criticize her as an Indian woman. Couldn't they do that? What's up, Finch? Great to see you. Democrat Party officials interviewed 300 Democrats from 50 states for the report, which Martin promised would examine the mistakes in 2024. They could have just said what was wrong and talked about it. Now they're going to blame the midterm push is clouded by infighting over keeping it secret. Jonah Finn says all reports of Kyle Busch symptoms make it sound like he was a subarachnoid hemorrhage from an aneurysm. Oh, man. Yes, Harris was just bad. Was stupid and bad. Yes. And drunk a lot. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. That's a great movie, Animal House. She wasn't fat, but she was drunk and stupid. Too much toilet paper, it was written on. Yes, definitely. If it wasn't for bad faith, Dems would have no faith whatsoever. There was controversy surrounding the report as it was being compiled after reports last summer said the autopsy would skip analyzing when then President Joe Biden should have run for re-election in 2024. Yes, drunk and bad and stupid. Drunk, bad, and stupid is no way to go through life. That's a good one. The toe identified with so many colors, we can remember what she is. Yes. The camel toe. Hi, everyone. Did I hear Kyle Busch passed away? Yes, Megataz mom. Unfortunately, Kyle Busch did pass away today at 42 years old or 43 years old. He was born in 85. 41. I mean, he's not old at all. Got young kids, too. So they don't want to pass judgment on key decisions made, but they're going to pass judgment on key decisions made by Harris and her team after she replaced Biden. They're not going to talk about Biden because that's absolutely shocking. He was 41. 41, man, that's young. Wow, that's young. Wow. Yet this fucking guy's still walking around. Despite facing growing calls for Democrats to release the report, the DNC officials had argued it's being withheld ahead of the midterms to keep the focus on retaking the House and the Senate. Hey, you can go through drunk and stupid and bad, but not if you want to be vice president or president. Yes, you can go through life like that, but somehow she was able to become vice president, even though she was bad, drunk, and stupid. Drunk, bad, and stupid. The Dems in Las Vegas City Council had an opening prayer for someone from a satanic church. You were born in 87. It's scary. It is, right? With all the young people dying, they'd be idiots if they run Kamala again. Maybe it'll be AOC. Well, here's the thing. They might be planning that. This might be this whole plan. They're already talking about, Thomas Massey's going to run as an independent, a third party candidate for the presidency. And they figured that'll be just enough to split the vote enough from either, whoever the Republicans run, and be it JD Vance or Rubio, that an AOC or somebody could actually win. Kind of like how Clinton won when Ross Perot split the party and Clinton was able to win with less than 40% of the vote. Yeah. You always talk about stuff, Clinton, but he didn't even he got 38% of the vote. And he was president. Other Demon Rats argued publicly releasing the autopsy before the midterms would improve transparency and help the party regroup before the elections. What's up, Karen? Oh, great to see you. DEI hire Kamala. Yes, she was. Yes, she was. Mm-hmm. And let's see. This is from the Twitchy, which is run by Michelle Malkin, I believe. The DNC autopsy, and wow, we knew it would be bad, but holy mother of all collapses, Batman. Yeah, this is fine. Democrats are still licking their wounds from 2024 shellacking, but the party chair has just dropped what he's billing as the official 2024 election autopsy, except it's already drawing fire for being absolutely freaking useless. The document seems to concede that Kamala Harris' campaign badly misread the electorate, botched its messaging on everything from border to gender and leaned far too heavily on anyone but Trump vibes while ignoring huge swaths of the map and failing to define its own candidate. T-minus 9 minutes for launch. That's awesome. Thanks for keeping me updated. Let's hope everything goes well. I'm praying. SpaceX has just announced they're going to have a major IPO coming soon, so that's going to be interesting. The report also throws shade at the Biden White House for leaving Harris unprepared. She was vice president. She was unprepared for that job, too. Barnes and Alex Jones are claiming it was a stolen election, making claims he was a nobody and cannot find anybody who voted for him. Well, maybe they should get out of their echo chamber if they want to find people who voted for him, because clearly, we all know they screwed up so bad that they're struggling to come up with any excuses that could weather a storm of criticism. Where's all the money go? They need to be audited. There's no way that much money in a short time. Well, they were paying people. They were straight up paying people for the endorsements. I mean, they paid like over $200,000 or $300,000 to build a studio for that podcast of girls. I can't remember the name of it. There was like 2 girls, a podcast or whatever. Like, I don't know. And they built the whole studio in DC because Harris couldn't be bothered to go to their studio. So they built a studio, like a replica studio for them. In other words, the Democrats post-mortem is admitting they ran one of the most tone-deaf campaigns in modern histories. You hope Kamala runs for office. She's a dumpster fire. Yes. She had to have to visit the cemeteries to find all her votes. Yeah, definitely. So the chairman released the incomplete, unedited version of the 2024 autopsy. Trump's transgender-focused ad, Kamala is for they, them, seen as highly effective and damaging. Harris did not shift position in response. Report paints a dismal picture. Democrats have lost ground since Obama era due to stagnation, failure to invest in states and local parties, and ability to project strength and unity. Criticizes the Biden White House for not adequately preparing, supporting Kamala Harris. No polling on her like Jill Biden. Poor defenses against borders are label. Yeah, it was like who's your daddy or something like that. Daddy, who's your daddy? Someone was getting something, definitely. Who's your daddy or something? Yeah, it was Who's Your Daddy podcast. Call Me Daddy. Was it Call Me Daddy or Who's Your Daddy? I don't even know. I think all that money was laundering or something. Yeah, probably. Chicago Bears Stadium is free now. Did they move? Did they officially move out of Soldier Field? Something to look at since USAID was cut. Raps and a lot of pop music fell off weekly numbers on Spotify. It's possible that a lot of that money was going to that. Call her daddy. Yeah, call him daddy. Call her daddy. Who's your daddy? Who's your baby daddy? Something like that. Yeah, it's like a real weird podcast. Facts, false overall Democrat effort for failing to effectively define or attack Trump. So they're claiming they didn't attack Trump. What? That's all you did was attack Trump. The Harris campaign criticized for taking too much for granted, over-focusing on suburbs and college-educated voters, neglecting rural areas, and relying on not Trump rather than affirmative messaging. Yeah, that's all she did was, that's all she did. That's all she did. That's all she did. That's all she did was rely on like celebrities paying people like what's Bella doing? Chewing on a bone? No, she's chewing on her foot. She's chewing on her foot again. Bella, stop chewing on your foot. She chewed a nail off the other day, like ate the whole nail off. Stupid Girls, whatever they call their channel. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hope she stopped. They're all liars, yes, they are. So Democrats have lost ground, criticizes Biden White House, faults over the campaign. Yeah, so Sonny Austin claims that the BLM riots caused very limited destruction. Wow. That's insane. Like, a couple $1 billion, whatever it was, $6 billion or something. It's women with daddy issues. I can't watch that stuff. It's almost as if running on nothing but identity politics and Trump bad is a bad idea. Perhaps even Democrat voters have figured out they need some kind of expectations for their leaders. Foot tastes like beans. Maybe. I don't know. Foot may itch. I don't know. I don't know. She is. Bella. Come on, stop. Stop chewing on your foot. You're going to chew your nail off, and then you're going to be crying that it hurts when you walk. Trump and enter your label here so we can pander to you. Wow, yeah. They finally released the autopsy, and he blames the guy who he hired to write it. I'm not proud of the product. That's typical. Like, I don't like what it says, so we're going to blame it. From the DNC, in the face of misinformation and disinformation, our candidates have proven incapable of projecting strength, unity, and leadership. Well, that's, I guess, leave her alone. She's a good dog. Well, I just don't want her hurting herself. You looked it up. It was Call Her Daddy. Yeah, I just don't want her hurting herself if she chews another nail off. She's got just like the quick hanging out on one. But it's thundering and lightning here, so she's scared. She doesn't like thunder, so that's why she's kind of nervous. Indeed, many of our critical Democrat wins can be attributed to negative stuff. I can't believe we bullied him into releasing the autopsy. It's like making a kid who didn't contribute to the group project give the presentation. The red notes are the DNC response to the autopsy. They learned nothing. So they're like, right, no, it's no evidence. No evidence provided for these claims. No evidence provided for these claims. They talked to the people and they took what the people said. And they're like, yeah, they didn't know. You didn't show us evidence. This is straight up like the arguments you get with the people on Twitter when you tell them something happened. 500,000 ballots mailed by mistake. Save Act now. It would be nice. It would be nice. But I mean, this is just ridiculous. No evidence provided for many claims. Like, they talked to 300 Democrats and asked them what the problems were and compiled their report. Get Bell a Thunder shirt. She had one. And she chewed it up. And it was her second one. The first one she grew out of because I got her one, and I had to get a bigger size when she got bigger, and she chewed it up. And I just didn't get her. Any another one. I'm gonna have to order another one. Give her some treats or something to help her deal with the anxiety. She'll be all right. Yeah, of course they didn't. They're still literally running on not Trump, transing the kids, and genocide the Jews to this day. It's crazy. Yeah, they're relying on not Trump messaging. Hope you're staying cool. Super hot in Washington. I'm reading that correctly. That Massey's election claimed to be stolen. Yeah. She ate the shirt. Yeah, she ate the shirt. So that's I got to get her another one, but I will. Generally, when it's storming, she just like sits on my lap. Believe it or not, she'll climb up on my lap and just sit there. Oh, she brought her toy to go get a drink of water. What do you know? So they're so far off the mark on the autopsy that it's mind-boggling. People running the DNC are delusional. How would his election be stolen? I don't know. I don't know. It's so bad, I almost feel sorry for him. I was a big advocate of releasing it. Having read it now, I can see why there was so much resistance. It's an utter disaster and failure on virtually every front. This is coming from Chris Saliza, like a straight up mouthpiece for the Demon Rats. So we're just going to pop real quick through a couple more of these before we jump on to the next story. DNC releases massive autopsy on Kamala Harris landslide loss to Trump. Here's key details, which we kind of went through already. That's the key detail right there. That's the key deal. Asked 300 Democrats is like saying we investigators ourselves and found nothing wrong. Well, no, they asked the Democrats, and then they wrote the report by what they told them. Then the DNC started putting red notes saying like, oh, they didn't give any evidence for this. You didn't give any evidence. Like, they expected the people they interviewed to provide them evidence. That's what they told them. The problem was, So they released it. A copy of the autopsy can be available at CNN. DNC autopsy of the defeat says Biden loyalists neglected Harris, claims GOP learned more from Obama than Dems. A slipshot, error-ridden draft autopsy of the crushing defeat commissioned by the Democrats largely blamed allies of President Joe Biden for failing to properly support Kamala Harris, but also knocked the party apparatus for relying on negative partisanship. So the draft, begrudgingly released, down to 1 minute to launch. May have a holiday for 40 seconds. Well, that's good. Kamala should have stayed away from happy hours. It would probably work. So the report was written by a Clinton strategist, Paul Rivera, did make sure to knock Team Biden for not conducting advanced polling of Harris before the guy jumped out of the race. Can you imagine what the race would have been if Biden would have stayed in? I mean, honestly, it would have been worse. It would have been a bigger shellacking, I think, if Biden would have stayed in. Yes, rest in peace, Kyle Busch. Hold, not holiday. Well, hold, holiday, same difference. You liked Massey in the beginning. He totally changed. I liked Massey 8-10 years ago, too. I thought he was great. I thought he was needed. I thought this guy's needed. We need this guy. But when the guy is the guy stopping your party from passing things they need to pass and, siding with Democrats, then he's no longer that guy. Kamala is Indian, not black. Yeah. So the national campaign did not effectively drive Trump's negatives. What? It's on hold? All right. And the White House did not effectively support Kamala Harris. Oh, okay. So it's not her fault. It's not her fault. It's Biden's. It's the white man's fault. It's Biden's fault. Lots of people change suddenly, it seems. Yeah, they change suddenly. It all has to do with money. The border czar was not the official title, but it was the one the media propagated. She claimed she was the border czar. She said she didn't have to go to the border. Wow. The only mention of reservations about Biden's candidacy for a second term include a reference to the White House asking the DNC ahead of the 2022 midterms to poll how Jill Biden could support her husband as president. No similar research was conducted for Vice President Kamala Harris. And here we go. All right. Damn, back to a 41-second hold. The autopsy did grapple with the fallout of the most successful Trump campaign at a spot focused on transgender issues. Is Alex Jones just a parody show of what people think conservatives are like, an SNL skit? Maybe. I don't know. I like Rand Paul on some issues, especially cutting spending. I loved Ron Paul. I supported Ron Paul when he ran for president. I thought we needed him. But I think we're past that point now. The Dem Party problem was embracing crazy ideas and then doubling down on more of those ideas. That's why I left that shit pile of a party. That's why everybody's leaving that party. What's up, Kimby? Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Yes, a lot of people do, KB, and a lot of people hate Kamala. So, and then CNN is just saying, read their autopsy that we obtained. I obtained it. Yes, Ron Paul was awesome. Yes, he was. So, oh yes, she was just phony. Everything about Kamala was phony and fake. So there's that. All right. And then same thing here from CBS, just says DNC releases the long-awaited autopsy. DNC released it. I think we're good. I don't think we need to read any more into this. But now we're going to get into why they released it. All right, this is why they released it. All right, you guys ready for this? You ready for Bisk? Ron is a principled. Rand is big pharma shill. Kamala's stepdaughter crashed out. Yeah. Kamala was a DEI token that did not work out for the Democrat regime. I loathe the fact that someone like Kamala was able to get to high office. Yes, definitely. She was 3 sheets to the wind. She has 4 accents. Yes. The model. You have 30 seconds. So a Democrat candidate's Zionist castration rant sparks a firestorm as the party leaders try to rewrite the narrative to target the GOP. That's right. So a new member of the squad, somebody that's been championed by the squad, that AOC and, Cori Bush and what's the other one? Jemiah Parapel, whatever her name is. And what's the other lady's name? The one that looks like Professor Xavier. She was going to take her spot. And she just decided to go out and just talk crazy stuff. She started talking about putting Zionists in camps. Like, you can't say that. You can't say that. That's crazy. They made me scrub for today. Circumcision as general mutilation. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Do you think that Iran has taken a pro-Russia and anti-Israel stance as their donors or their crazy viewers? I'm not sure. The Iran, I like some of their stuff. Like, I think they're spot on some of their takes about Ukraine. But, Ukraine has been a shithole of corruption for 30 years now. So, what are we supposed to do? Kamala should have put hot sauce in her purse. She probably should have put it in her panties. So, Democrat Maureen Galindo vowed to turn a local ICE facility into a prison for American Zionists. Poor stepdaughter, probably so targeted in gross directions. Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Is he going to talk about it?
Southwest Florida. Heat, humidity, or investments.
Welcome back, America. We're here with our friend, former New York Congressman, former New York gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin, who would have won
head of the EPA,
a
doing
year
a great
later with
job.
all this immigration stuff. But timing is everything, you know. Lee Zeldin, in New York in particular, where most of the Jews in this country live, certainly a plurality.
Is this just going to be
we're
about?
seeing the most
hold on.
anti-Semitic, Jew-hating.
No, they have the tools to, but they're not. They should be all in on this effort. There are right now Jewish students who are unable.
All right, now this is not to talk about
to
what
get
happened.
from their dorm to their.
Why did they do that? Why don't they just have somebody talking about what actually happened? So Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and AOC and other Democrats responded to the congressional candidate's anti-Semitic rant. Let's see. So anti-Semitic rant about jailing and castrating American Zionists by attempting to shift the blame to Republicans. So yeah, it's the Republicans' fault. It's the Republicans' fault that a Democrat is talking about putting Jews in camps. Shock me, the stepdaughters against all the things. AOC +3, Presley. Yeah. Kay Bean, she was saying she was on SSRI, she was 12 and having to take them forever. Stepdaughter's definitely against personal hygiene. Yes. Yeah. So she stirred up a firestorm of controversy by pledging to open a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers. And so Jeffrey said in a joint statement that MAGA extremists should be ashamed of themselves. So it's MAGA extremists' fault that the DNC has straight up, what are you going to call us in their party? Jeffries accused the leadership of the GOP for backing it, saying that the House Republicans leadership would immediately cease propping up this anti-Semitic candidacy, pull the spending in the race, and forcefully condemn these comments. The vile language by her is disqualifying, has no place in American politics. To embrace and uplift a fringe candidate with anti-Semitic and extremely dangerous rhetoric and views in order to win elections beyond the pale. This is your candidate. I still like that they ran. I find them least annoying compared to pro-China shills. Yeah, why don't they put their money where their mouth is? Yeah. Oh, wow. F you efforts. Yeah, right? So this is the one in the center. She was backed by AOC. Texas will not be fooled and will reject her at the ballot box next week. Galindo, who is currently locked in a primary runoff for a Texas congressional seat, is under fire after pledging a social media post to turn a local ICE center into a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers. Aren't they running a main guy that's an actual Nazi tattoo? Yes, they are. So that's what I'm saying. This is who they're running. We're going to get into that too. Time Magazine put him on the cover. It's not the first time that Time Magazine has put somebody, that had a Totenkopf tattoo on the cover. They famously did it back in 1932 or 33 with Hitler. How do I find the news you report on each day? I spend several hours a day searching for news stories that I think will be that you guys need to know about. I spend several hours doing it. But thank you, freaking nerd, for asking. The objective of the news is to shape the narrative, not report the facts. There is no straight news anymore. Well, I try to cut through the bullshit and bring in the facts as best I can. Why suddenly we're seeing all these crazy people being anti-Israel is profitable? Because there's a lot of money being pumped into by a group that you might say is really anti-Israel, and I think it rhymes with Muslim. There's a lot of Muslim money pouring in. Qatari money pouring in, paying people, UAE money, Palestinian money, money from Iran, money from Pakistan. Launch clock is rolling. That's awesome. I understand you were going with that, but I don't think the mustachioed painter had a tattoo. I don't know. Maybe he did. So yeah, she also sent a post that prison will also be a castration processing center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. So she also called them all pedophiles. But I could get on board with the with the wall. Maps go on the wall. I'm behind that. Yeah, of course Time Magazine did it. They loved Hitler. Yeah. Launch is scrubbed. Yeah, ground news is great. Yeah, ground news is great. When the Democrats look like a communist, walk like a communist, and wail like a communist, they're extremists compared to the Constitution. Extremists compared to the Constitution. Yes, they are. Scrubbed. Maybe tomorrow. Oh, maybe tomorrow. That's awesome. Scrubbed. So earlier this month, the DCC accused Washington Republicans of secretly contributing to the Galindo campaign. Secretly contributing. Galindo and her primary opponent, Johnny Garcia, who has been endorsed by the DCCC, are set to face off in a runoff election next week. In their first matchup, Galindo had a narrow lead over Garcia, though neither candidate came close to clearing the 50% threshold. So this is the person who actually got the most votes in the initial round. And it's a closed primary, so these were Democrats voting. Yes. So they're accusing the GOP of doing the thing that they do every election. It's funny, right? Yeah, it's funny, right? Oh, Dan, what's up, Darlene? How you doing? They scrubbed the launch. Well, hopefully tomorrow will go better. Oh, look at this. America First. Thank you so much. Please support Jim because it's not like he's freeloading off of us. His work needs to be supported. Well, thank you so much, America First. That's greatly appreciated. That's awesome. That means right now we are just $81.78 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. Yeah, money isn't so useful without corrupt government. Is it funny? Is what funny? What they do? Well, I'm saying that the Dems do this all the time. They prop up fringe candidates on the Republicans and then try to, and then try to say, oh, this guy, look at what he does. He does this. They do it all the time. All the time. They're constantly trying to tie the right to these other crazy people. So I don't know if this is, I haven't seen evidence that this woman who was the front runner for the Democrats was supported by Republicans. Like, she was the front runner. She got the most votes in the initial thing. So she was supposed to be in the new squad, part of the squad. Did I check PayPal? No, I didn't check PayPal. I'm sorry. Sorry, did I get a PayPal? Let me look. Oh, thank you so much, KB. I'm sorry, I did not see that till just now. Thank you so much. Thank you, KB. Got another 25 from KB. Thank you so much. With that, that means right now we are $56.78 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Is that right? Right, because if it was 75, it would be 50. So it's another $6 and $56.78. Thank you so much, K-Bean. Not too great. Thank you, K-Bean. Thank you so much. Wesley Hunt was a great on debunking Jim Crow 2.0. Yes. Yes. Ocasio-Cortez called Galindo's comments absolutely disgusting, writing on an X that are bigoted garbage and anti-Semitism should be nowhere near our politics. You guys, have a lot of the same things in common. I hate to break it to you. She urged Texans in the district to vote for Garcia, writing, the donors behind the Republican super PAC funding her should be exposed. Yeah, I don't think they're Republicans supporting her. I think it's probably people who think have bad things, all this anti-Semitism coming from the left. There is some coming from the far right, but it's like a horseshoe. If you get far enough to the right, you're on the left. What about the twerking for democracy in Michigan? Yeah, you saw that woman, right? Mountain Dew changed its name for the 250 to American Dew. That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for that. With the $6.78, that means we're now just an even $50 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. We're moving along tonight. Kate Bean is based AF. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She emphasized that every elected Democrat needs to publicly condemn this immediately. What about Dolly Do? Yeah. The upper chamber of Congress, Senator Rick Scott, called it beyond despicable that a Democrat candidate would openly call for a Jewish concentration camp in the United States in 2026. It's not a horseshoe. Any collectivists are leftists at heart. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's a theory that they say that if you go, when you get like, you got the, the center and then you go to the right, you go to the left, that if they go far enough that they meet up, it's a theory. It's called like horseshoe theory. I don't know. I don't believe it. I just think I think these people, a lot of these people like Candace Owens and Fuentes and some other people, like personally think they've always been like, Candace was always on the left. Fuentes, I don't know. I think I think he's paid opposition, like he's part of the deep state. Like, I don't know. There's how this kid is still running around saying the things and he's constantly telling people vote Democrats. It's like a plant or a plot. And then he didn't get arrested. They're paid. Yeah, I think they're paid. I don't know. Maybe they don't believe any of this stuff. Who knows what they really believe? I don't know. Despite this, more Democrats accused Republicans of backing the Texas progressive candidate. Representative Christine Menifee wrote on X, Republicans should stop propping up her sham candidacy. What? How is it a sham candidacy? She got the most votes. Fletcher says, unfortunately, Fuentes is a gay fed. Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, I'm waiting for a new debit card. Can't contribute till it rises Saturday morning. Don't worry. Gas pump hack earlier. Oh, that sucks, man. Fuentes is a Fed Catboy twinkle lover. Well, American do. Yes. Menifee added that it was disgusting to see the anti-Semitic comments from a so-called Texas Democrat. They have no place in our party. Did you kick her out of the party? Are you guys going to, if she wins, are you going to caucus with her? I bet you would. I bet you would. Yeah, Talrico, the phony. Oh my God. We got $10 from, I don't want to say your name on Cash App, LC. We'll just call you LC. Was that you, American Jane? Was that you? Let me see if it says. Thank you so much for the 10 on Cash App. Mm-hmm. With that means we're just 40 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. Yep, thank you so much. Okay, you say I didn't open. I got the notification. I just saw it now from. Thank you so much. I should have opened it before I asked. Thank you. It's a caucus hard. Yeah, they'll caucus hard. She'll take them. If it comes between her caucusing with them and them not having a majority, you better believe they'll caucus with her. Yes. When I filmed my movie, I couldn't get helpers to show up without pay. No one does anything without money. Yeah. So one of the top Democrats on the Texas ballot, Talrico, who's a fake phony Christian. Talrico is an old school definition of Antichrist. Yeah, he's a big phony baloney. Said, with leadership both star parties willing to stand up and call out hate wherever it rears its ugly head. And Talrico said the anti-Semitic rhetoric has no place in our politics. You guys are siding with the anti-Semites all the time. I mean, people that want to just talk about just killing the people, like non-stoply. So here's what the woman looks like, just in case you guys didn't know. This is her. It says she goes in a forum held by a League of Women Voters. She spoke. So I have to see how well she does. It might be interesting to see if she actually can win. Who's siding with the anti-Semites? The Democrats. The Democrats are. They all. I mean, think about it. They're all out there siding with people that want to destroy Israel. I mean, there's a whole bunch of Jews that live in Israel. You don't want to destroy Israel and wipe them off the face of the earth. That's kind of saying you want to kill a bunch of Jews, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, the math there to me says, like, if you want to destroy Israel and wipe it off the map, kind of means you're anti-Semitic a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. Galindo runoff campaign has also drawn attention because a mysterious super PAC with ties to Republicans has spent heavily. Really? So what ties are the Republican ties? The lead left PAC promoted by Galindo and mailers highlighting her support for dismantling ICE, impeaching Trump. So you're saying Republicans are running on dismantling ICE and impeaching Trump? That doesn't make any sense. In other posts, Galindo accused Garcia, a former hostage negotiator and public information officer, of wanting Jews and Mexicans in warehouses. She accused billionaire Zionists of controlling San Antonio. So Galindo says, I'm not anti-Semitic. In fact, my last serious relationship was with a Jewish man. I'm against Zionist Jews. When I said that Jews who own Hollywood are doing this, I don't even know. Can I read this, or am I going to get in trouble for reading this? Do they all hold Hollywood? No. The Zionists do. The Zionist Jays own the media and our banks. Wow, that's crazy stuff to say. Maybe it's the Lincoln Project propping her up. Who knows? That would make sense. Her remarks prompted other Dems to distance themselves. Representative Jared Moskowitz called for the Democrat leaders to denounce the comments. But here's these are, let's see, because let's see, here's a Democrat mob outside of a synagogue. What they did to that.
So a violent anti-Israeli mob hurling anti-Semitic slurs and waving
These are all
Palestinian
Democrats.
flags
This
while
is the Democrat
raging
voters
against police outside of a Brooklyn synagogue last night.
So you can see a pro-Palestinian shoving a Jewish girl as rioters chant globalize the Antifada. It is the second anti-Israeli protest like this in under a week.
So the New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani has yet to condemn this attack. It's the second in a matter of weeks that we've been reporting. This one happened last night. It was an Israeli real estate event in Brooklyn, and there were a lot of police. Despite that, though, there were several incidents. Two minors were arrested for throwing eggs. There was flag burning. An Israeli flag was burned during the demonstration. And there were a few dozen pro-Palestinian activists that were met by this larger group of counter-protesters.
I'm sure these guys are being financed from outside the country. There never in the past have been Palestinian movements like this. Most people don't even understand it. It's a part of the Middle East that usually is a dial tone to most Americans. But over the last 4 or 5 years, it's all of a sudden we got these wild activists. It reminds me of what happened with the green technology on fossil fuels.
The same people,
and then
too.
it became the race problem after George Floyd. And now they say, OK, let's focus on making Jews the problem, which they are not.
Brian, I'm so glad that you said that, because we characterize these
Hey, what's
as
up, Kelly? How you
anti-Israeli,
doing?
anti-Israel protests. Why are you outside of a synagogue? I mean, we know exactly who the target is right now. And then you're screaming, globalize the Antifada. Really?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. It's a hate crime, right? Because if you're targeting them, you're actually going to their synagogue because you don't like their religion, you don't like them as people. And then you start an argument like this. On May 5th, this also happened outside of Park East Synagogue in Manhattan. There were 100 protesters and they were clashing with NYPD.
Remember how many of these older people have nothing to do with Columbia University were protesting at Columbia University?
Okay, so we get the point. The Democrats are the ones that are behind all this
shut
stuff.
down the campus to
And
non-students.
they're trying to blame
and then now the
Republicans
same
for
thing.
some reason. What? So it's ridiculous. Here's Jonathan Turley's going to talk about it. So the Texas Democrat candidate pledges prison and castration for American Zionists. Some have been writing about the rise in anti-Semitism in the United States, particularly on the left. Anti-Semitic rhetoric has become normalized in our political discourse, and it's evident in the 35th congressional district race unfolding in Texas. In an Instagram post last week, the Democrat candidate Maureen Galindo pledged that she would turn the Carnes ICE detention facility into a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers for human trafficking. Well, I mean, there was human trafficking going on during the Biden administration. We were seeing it. They were flying the people in under cover of dark without telling anybody. The anti-Israel movement has been growing for years in the Democrat Party. According to recent polls, 2/3 of Democrats now support Palestinians over Israel. This is the numbers. The Prometheus Project exposes the Middle East money being funneled through banks in London. Money flows all over the place. Almost 60% of Democrats have a negative view, only 30% holding a positive view of Israel. The anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian movement has extreme elements that are unabashedly anti-Semitic. Galindo clearly believes that she can garner greater support with such hateful rhetoric. She added that she will make the ICE detention center a castration processing center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. Galindo, a sex therapist and housing activist. So I left this, a sex therapist and housing activist. I wonder if her sex therapy involves her having sex with people, because I've heard those rumors. Yes, you're right, Karen. All crime is hate. Great to see you, Kelly. Democrats, she's in a running against Johnny Garcia in a runoff. Democrats have joined in condemning her remarks. While she has a free speech right to espouse such views, we have the same right to condemn those remarks as despicable. The concern is that the American politics is becoming increasingly radicalized and violent. Galindo is particularly vile in her comments. In other posts, Galindo has accused billionaire Zionists of controlling San Antonio and South Texas trafficking networks. When confronted with her comments by Texas Public Radio, Galindo insisted that her campaign against Zionist Jews is in no way anti-Semitic. Does anybody know that Kyle Busch died? Yes. He it's being reported he had a brain aneurysm, passed away at just 41 years old, born in 1985. Terrible. I think he had a race coming up this weekend too, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's a race this weekend. She says, this is her words. I'm not anti-Semitic. In fact, my last serious relationship was with a Jewish man. Oh, we saw this already. When I said, we saw that. It is the same message that is echoed through the ages as shown in this World War II Slovak poster of decrying those who are a servant to the Jew. So, Galindo's writings are a chilling insight into this twisted logic and the rationalization of anti-Semitism sweeping over the country. It would be a mistake to dismiss Galindo as an isolated extremist on the left. These voices are growing, and the hatred for Israel becomes a rallying cry at protests. It's true. All these protests, every one of them that you see, the No Kings protests, they're all got the kafayas on. They're all chanting about all the stuff down with Israel. The race is in Charlotte's the Coke 600. Yeah. This just says Dems distance themselves from Texas candidate calling for Zionists to be imprisoned and castrated. Yeah. It just says, not hiding it, the squad candidate in Texas vows to put Americans in internment camps. Here she is. Hey, that looks like a straight, come on. You're going to tell me that's not a Democrat? Look at her eyes. Look at her face. That could be AOC's best friend. So she's got her sights set on Congress heading towards a runoff. In her words, she wants American Zionists and former ICE officers to head somewhere else, to a concentration camp. So we can all agree that those comments are not acceptable for somebody running for office, talking about putting Americans in concentration camps. Come on, right? We can agree that's not good. And them special SSRIs. She's got SRIs. But here's the problem. It says because the Democrat who is hoping to defeat Galindo in the upcoming runoff threw out the original Jews and Mexicans in warehouses accusation, which prompted Galindo's pushback post. Wow. And then she's the ex-sex therapist. Yes, you heard me. Attempted to defend herself by claiming her accuser was actually getting paid to lock Jews and Mexicans up, according to this from the New York Post. Are you just a Semite? I don't know. What does that mean? I'm not from the Middle East. I thought Semites were people from Levant, right? Or from that area. I didn't know our country got so viciously hateful and violent. It's crazy, right? So Galindo's campaign made a vile pledge that she would introduce legislation to the effect that she gets elected to Congress, alleging that Dem runoff was being paid to put Jews and Mexicans in concentration camps via Zionist trafficking networks. Oddly, Galindo's campaign made the comments while trying to dispute the primary claims that she wants to put Jews in warehouses. This is crazy. So we got two candidates, both talking about one's talking about putting Jews in warehouses. The other one's talking about putting them in concentration camps. The wackos put their feet in concrete at a Pepsi facility in Oregon or Washington because bulls in India make it make sense. It doesn't. Mark Edwin Webb says, I don't know how our country got so full of wimpy virtue signalers. The more Jim tells me, the more confused I am. It gets that way. I care about Main Street. I don't have the bandwidth to care about global dramas. I don't think it's about global dramas. Somebody talking about putting Americans in concentration camps. Somebody running for Congress in America talking about putting Americans in concentration camps. That's crazy. And the other candidate she's running against just wants to put them in warehouses. So I think they got two bad choices. I think they got two bad choices. Yeah, so Texas Democrat Maureen Galindo under fire. Same thing here from CBS. Or this is the Hill. Democrat rips Texas Dems. Democrat candidate. So, yeah. All right. On to the next story, folks. On to the next story. So that's just crazy. You know, it's dem on dem violence. Jews make up less than 0.2% of the world population. There are fewer than 60 million left alive because of people like her. There are over 2 billion Muslims, 1 in 4 people. Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. And I think that's where, honestly, my opinion is that's where all this stuff is coming from. That they're starting to use their money to target Israel and Jews. That's what I think. Basically, make them the boogeyman, say all this stuff. And they found people who are willing to take the checks, cash the checks from Qatar, cash the checks from Iran, from all these people from Pakistan, from Saudi Arabia, from all these countries. Because there's plenty of rich billionaires over there that don't like the Jews. Yeah, 16 million Jews and 1 billion Muslims. Yeah. So check this out. An influencer mom and lawyer dad are accused of a dark web murder for hire plot against a boy band baby daddy. This is crazy. This is just crazy. Gabriela Gonzalez, her attorney father and ex-boyfriend are allegedly tried to hire a dark web hitman to kill Jack Avery. This is just nuts, man. This trial should be something I hope gets broadcast.
You have the right to communicate with your attorney, family, and friends, and reasonable means will be provided to enable you to do so. You have a right to a bond, or if another judge or another county has already set a no bond in your case. If that is the case, you will either need to go to the county that issued it, or you will need to see the judge who issued the no bond. You have the right to an attorney, and if you have completed an application for court-appointed qualified, I will appoint the public defender's office to represent you. I also want to cover a few additional things. First, any bond that I give you may have conditions that are in addition to the standard. Please let me know, and I will give you a one-time return with law enforcement. However, you will get
Some colleges are definitely pumping up the hate.
Okay, this is case number 6 on the docket. Number 6 on the docket, case number 26 CF1175, Francisco Gonzalez. State your name for me, please.
This is Craig Sonner. We're asking to be with the Public Defender's Office. We're asking to be provisionally appointed on this case today.
Okay.
Hey, Lady Mama.
I
How you
will
doing?
provisionally appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you. I just need the defendant to state his name for the record.
Francisco Gonzalez.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, you are being held on a warrant out of California. You have a right to waive extradition or fight extradition. If you waive, you will be consenting to be voluntarily transferred in custody to California. You must execute a written waiver and remain in jail until you are picked up by law enforcement personnel who will return you to the state of California. At this time, what would your client like to do?
He's already signed the papers to waive extradition, Your Honor.
Okay, so we will put this as a waiver. If California has not picked you up by June 2nd, you will come back to court. Okay? Thank you.
All right. So this is the guy. All right. So Florida lawyer Francisco Gonzalez appears in court after arrest and alleged murder for hire plot. California social media influencer, her attorney, father, and her ex-boyfriend are accused of trying to hire a hitman on a dark web to murder the father of a child in what prosecutors say was a years-long custody battle that spiraled into a murder-for-hire conspiracy. Los Angeles County prosecutors charged this week Gabriela Lauren Gonzalez, her father, Francisco Gonzalez, her boyfriend, Kay Ferran Cordray, accused them of a plot to kill Jack Avery, a former member of the boy band Why Don't We, and a father of Gonzalez's 7-year-old daughter. Does anyone know who these people are? Jack Avery, the band, boy band Why Don't We? I have no clue who these people are. Prosecutors alleged the scheme unfolded between 2020 and 2022 during an increasingly bitter custody dispute. Why are they just being charged now? This 4 years ago. And that's 6 years ago. The complaint alleges Gonzalez, her father, repeatedly portrayed Avery as unfit, dangerous, or harmful during family court proceedings. The criminal complaint further alleges that Gonzalez and Francisco Gonzalez used accusations surrounding Avery's parenting and frustrations with the family court process to encourage or justify efforts to remove Avery from Lavender A's life. Hate is reserved for people with deep insecurity complex. Yes. What the hell? We got another Tennessee mom tried to hire a hitman to kill former TV anchor. That's Gabriel Gonzalez faced attempted murder and conspiracy charges after prosecutors accused her of precipitating a murder for hire plot. Does anyone know who this is? Anyone? See, this face look familiar to anybody? She's an influencer. According to the filing, prosecutors allege they enlisted Cordray to help locate a hitman through the dark web, while Francisco Gonzalez, a Central Florida attorney, allegedly financed the operation. So I have a feeling what happened here is the guy that she hired to do it or whatever got caught for something else and then rolled on him. That's got to be what happened here. Because that's no way if this was going on between 2020 and 2022 that we're just finding out about it now. Because if it was a setup and they hired a like a cop or something, looks like Spicoli. Yeah, right. Yeah, tasty waves, dude. Cool buds, tasty waves, and a cold brew is all I need, bro. Prosecutors allege that Gonzalez and Cordray discussed using the dark web and Bitcoin to hire someone to kill Avery in Los Angeles. Discussed making the killing appear to be an accident. Another one, Texas influencer sentenced to 10 years and murder for hire plot. What is going on? What is going on? Authorities claim Francisco Gonzalez sent Cordray $10,000 in April 2021, disguised as a web development payment to help locate and hire a killer. Prosecutors allege Cordray later sought another $4,000. The filing alleged Cordray transferred thousands of dollars into a Gemini cryptocurrency account as part of the scheme. Yeah, but this all happened years ago. So why is this coming up now? According to prosecutors, Cordray later allegedly pushed for Avery to be killed within 2 days and allegedly told the purported hitman the killing did not need to be accomplished in any special way. Records reviewed by Fox News Digital allege Cordray used the alias Lizard King 69 while operating a dark web murder for hire account. Cordray is accused of providing Avery's address and other identifying information, but the supposed assassin was actually an undercover FBI agent. What the hell? If the assassin was an FBI agent, what took him 4 years to make the arrest, or 6 years almost? 2021. This is 2026, 5 years, 4 years. What took so long? In September 2021, prosecutors alleged Cordray spoke with an undercover agent posing as a hitman and discussed payment, proof of death, and Avery as the intended target. So this is the singer guy. Jack Avery performs on stage. So this is this guy. The complaint further alleged Cordray later told the undercover agent that Gonzalez wanted Avery killed and he had helped arrange the plot, and that the father allegedly referring to Francisco still wanted it done and could pay. This is a case where defendants are accused of going to great lengths to find someone to commit murder. Most fathers raise their children respect the law, but here we have a dad who allegedly helped his daughter and her boyfriend break the law in the most sinister way imaginable. Somebody rolled. Somebody clearly rolled. Investigative records cited by Fox 35 Orlando allege that Gonzalez became deeply involved in the custody dispute, including allegedly hiring a private investigator to surveil Avery in the hopes of finding evidence. I mean, that's like normal stuff in a custody dispute, a divorce or custody dispute. You hire a private investigator to find out what's going on. That's not like odd. The outlets also reported investigators accused Gonzalez of threatening to have Avery arrested during visitation exchanges and attempt to involve law enforcement contact. Okay, these are all things that happen in a shitty breakup in a custody dispute. People call the cops on each other. Got a tip? I don't know. He should be arrested for that haircut, though. That's an awful mullet. TMZ reported that one witness allegedly recalled Francisco Gonzalez remarking that it would be cheaper if Dak were dead. People make those comments when you're going through divorces and stuff or breakup with custody. When you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting for custody, yes, it would be much cheaper if somebody was passed away. Gonzalez, who built a large social media following posting motherhood, travel, and lifestyle content, was arrested last week in Humboldt County, California, while allegedly preparing to board a flight. Jail and arrest records reviewed by Fox as Gonzalez is being held without bail in Los Angeles, while her father was arrested May 18th at his Lake Mary home on a California fugitive warrant. Records identify Gonzalez as a lawyer with the Gonzalez law firm. During his first court appearance, Gonzalez's attorney said he planned to waive extradition and return to California to face the charges. All three defendants are charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder. Prosecutors are recommending bail to be set at $2 million each. The alleged plot left Avery fearing for his life. Why are they just being arrested now? I stayed in my house for a month straight. I didn't leave. I was so scared looking out my window. He said during a September appearance in the Zach Sang show. Why is they just getting arrested now? Avery has since filed for a restraining order against Gonzalez and seeking sole custody of their daughter. The filings allege Avery claimed Gonzalez attempted to kill me by hiring a hitman. The investigation was initially launched by the FBI before being turned over to LA District Attorney's Major Crime Divisions. Authorities have not yet explained why the arrest in this case came years after the alleged murder for hire plot unfolded. It was not immediately clear if any of the suspects has retained attorneys. So was this something that the Biden DOJ just said, like, yeah, we're not going to do anything about? Like, it took the Trump DOJ to go, wait, what? Because this happened in 2021, 2022, and then the FBI. No, I know what happened. This happened in 2021, 2022. The FBI was too busy chasing down old ladies and grandmothers for walking around after they were let in on a guided tour of the Capitol. So they didn't have time to go after a murder for hire plot. As a child growing up in New York, a couple that lived on the street had a line of numbers tattooed on their inner arms. They told me it was about the Holocaust. Yes. I mean, this is just nuts. This is just nuts. This is just nuts. I mean, how did it take so long? TikToker influencer sinister plot to kill her boy band member father of her child. Gabby Gonzalez has been arrested in connection with the alleged murder for hire plot. Inmate records reviewed show that she was arrested May 18th. So she was arrested 5 years after the fact. This is crazy. You guess they dragged her feet because the people are Hispanic? No, I don't think that was it. Honestly, I think we're going to find something needs to be done. Mm-hmm. She's wearing a camo shirt. She's being held on a charge of conspiracy to commit murder. So Olive previously reported that Gabby was arrested last week in Humboldt County. Authorities believe the alleged plot dates back to 2021, including efforts to surveil Avery while he was living in Hawaii. One alleged communication cited a report, including Francisco writing, "Call Barca, never too early," which investigators believe referred to Dustin Barca. Oh, she almost looks like, in that picture, she looks like that girl from the Sopranos and Sons of Anarchy. She almost looks like, what's her name? The one that played, damn it, I can't think of her name. I'll have further reports the witnesses told investigators Gabby had her father electronically send Kai $10,000. I don't know. This all seems, they were too busy trying to prosecute Trump. It sounds like something got screwy here. So, yeah, that's just a nutso story. So this explains it right here. So the case, which was investigated by agents with the FBI, was turned over to LA County for prosecution, dates back to 2020. So they're saying between 2020 and 2021, Gonzalez will gain a sizable following. So this investigation went all the way back to 2021 when they were doing all the Biden administration was too busy chasing old ladies and retirees for going on a guided tour of the Capitol to actually prosecute a murder for hire plot. That is insane. That's just insane. That's just insane. That's just insane. All right. All right. I guess now we're going to have to get into this story here about what's happening with this fraud. I tried to delay it as long as possible because I didn't want to spook everybody away that came over from Rob, because I know you guys just heard about this, but I got to get through this to get to the other stuff because we already got an extra hour. So we got 2 more hours at least of show to go. So I'm going to have to cover this now. So the fraud mastermind was sentenced to 41.5 years. Now, this is very interesting. All right. Because the other people that were, all the other people that actually did the robbing stuff, like all the other people that don't look like her, got like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. She got 41 years. It seems like there's a little mismatch here in sentencing and stuff. But don't worry, people, if you're still here, I'm going to zip through this quick and get on to I'll get through these stories with the fraud and get to the next stuff quick. So don't worry about it.
Our future fraud news. A Minnesota judge has just sentenced the mastermind behind the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, Aimee Bock. She just got more than 41 years in prison. The prosecution is asking for a 50-year sentence and her defense about 3 years. So that's somewhere in the middle that they got that, but closer to what obviously the prosecution wanted. The scheme involved the theft of nearly $250 million in COVID funding. That money was meant to feed hungry children. State leaders claim they were unaware of the fraud. Here's what Aimee Bock told our Alexis McAdams from jail back in January.
I honestly believe Keith Ellison and Governor Walz need to be held accountable.
Definitely. Definitely need to be held accountable. Definitely need to be held accountable. Mm-hmm. Tim Walz and the Fraud Factory. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so a federal judge sentenced Aimee Bock to 41 years in prison, orders her to pay more than $240 million in restitution. Wow. How much money did she get? Is the question. How much money did she actually get? So DOJ charges 15 in shocking Minnesota fraud scheme, Feeding Our Future ringleader sentenced. Yeah, got him.
Breaking news, a Minnesota judge has just sentenced the mastermind behind the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, Aimee Bock. She, what obviously the prosecution wanted. The scheme involved the theft of nearly $250 million back in January.
Keith Ellison and Governor Walz need to be held accountable. There needs to be an investigation done. If they weren't aware, that's concerning.
So if she's going to prison, is there anybody we know the names of who should as well, is the question now. Senior correspondent Mike Tobin. Anything that maybe Keith Ellison, the AG, is saying these days, Mike?
Well, what we know right now is just from the sentencing. 41 and a half years in prison for the woman at the center of this massive Feeding Our Future scandal. Aimee Bock is also on the hook for $243 million scam from taxpayers. She's supposed to somehow pay that back now. That came down just a short time ago in a Minneapolis federal courtroom. Bock was convicted in March 2025 on charges of wire fraud, bribery, money laundering, and conspiracy. Prosecutors say she was the kingpin in this massive fraud that promised to feed poor kids during the pandemic and instead billed taxpayers for phantom meals. Bock sobbed in the courtroom and said, "I understand I failed the public, my family, and everyone. Now, in a pre-sentencing filing, U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen wrote, the brazen and staggering nature of her crimes, meaning Bock, has shaken Minnesota to its core, leaving lasting damage and eroding public trust. Bock has stated that she trusted the people working with the program and was clueless to the fraud. Her defense argued pre-sentencing that many of the actors were entities outside of Ms. Bock's control. Meantime, the Assistant U.S. Attorney for Fraud Enforcement, along with HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. and the U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, are all going to appear in Minneapolis in just a short time. So far, there aren't many details we can release related to the announcement. The Department of Justice just says the announcement is related to the fraud, and it will make a significant step in law enforcement. Harris?
That sounds awesome.
All right, Mike Tobin, thank you very much.
That sounds awesome, actually. So we're going to get to that in a minute. Let me move a couple tabs over, do this. We're here. Boom. All right. Yeah. So that's interesting. All right. Fraud mastermind behind bars, behind Minnesota Child Nutrition Program scheme, handed stunning 4-decade sentence. So the founder that bilked taxpayers out of $250 million has been slapped with 41 years in prison. She was handed a very stiff sentence on Tuesday after being convicted on all counts. Last March, prosecutors described her as the ringleader. I think she's getting scapegoated. I hope that she rolls. I hope she rolls. She needs to roll over on everybody, on Omar. I do believe her IQ is over 70. Yeah, I think so. That's why they're charging her with more crimes and more stuff. So Bock and her convicted co-defendant, Salim Said, falsely claimed to have served 91 million meals and used $250 million in funds to bankroll their lavish lifestyles. Bock used ill-gotten gains to buy opulent cars, including a Porsche Panorama, which can range from around 110 to 230,000, as well as some 60 laptops, iPads, and iPhones, a diamond necklace, bracelet, and earrings. That doesn't add up to 250 million, though. It doesn't add up to 250 million, though. But where am I hearing this coming from? Okay, sorry. So the investigators said that Feeding Our Future fraud went from receiving $3 million in federal aid to receiving $200 million in 2021. Wow. Watch them let Aimee Bock take the punishment and nothing against Omar, Walls, and Ellison. That better not happen. Corruption is not gender-based, but our judicial district, we have proof in chambers that every female judge was allegedly corrupt and no male judge wanted to look like a male picking on females. You commit a crime, you lose your kids. It should be that way, right? So Bock filed a lawsuit against the state agency and the cap kept rolling in. Yeah, so this is the woman that filed the lawsuit over it because they were, they started asking questions about the rapid increase and she filed a lawsuit. And so taxpayer money was only cut after the IRS, FBI, and other agencies executed raids at 26 locations across Minnesota. Bock is pictured with one of her luxury cars presented as government evidence. Who's that in the car with her? That looks like a Bentley, actually. That looks like a Bentley. That's a Rolls Royce. I'm sorry. During Bock's trial, at least 6 email and text message exchanges between her and Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar were revealed. Bock said that the far-left squad member was instrumental in loosening the laws that sets the stage for the scheme. So how much money did Omar get? If she's got information that Omar got paid, give it up. Give up the dirt. Give up the dirt. The waivers sharply diminished oversight of the federal food program. The jailhouse interview, she said she revealed that Omar would personally step in whenever the waivers ran out, which allowed the fraud to continue unabated. Empress Watson Jr. and Aimee Bock posed in front of a pink building with an open sign. Raid on the Twin Cities, Feeding Our Future project thing in January of 2022. There's been a couple times early on that there were some gaps. A waiver would set to expire or maybe 15th of a month, and then the renewal didn't kick in until the 1st because, of course, this was supposed to be a short-term thing. We were supposed to be home for 2 weeks. She said she would struggle to believe the controversial rep, whose net worth mysteriously jumped from nearly nothing to 30 million, wouldn't have known about the scheme. So far, 79 people in connection with the Feeding Our Future scheme have resulted in more than 60 convictions. So Elon got money, sounds like. It's what it sounds like to me. It's what it sounds like to me. That's definitely what it sounds like to me. Feeding Our Future Somali fraud mastermind, Aimee Bock sentenced over 41 years in prison. She doesn't look Somali to me. So the fraud, yeah, so we saw all this. All right. And then we got this. All right. Assistant AG, today we're announcing criminal charges against 15 more defendants in Minnesota. Homestead says, without kids, most low-income people get virtually no benefit. A problem for low-income Americans is that now most programs are frauds to provide them with nothing. Yes. And Omar tried to step in Congress with an earmark of $1 billion. $1 billion. Or $1 million? Yeah.
Today, we are announcing criminal charges against 15 defendants in Minnesota for fraud schemes that targeted over $90 million in taxpayer dollars. Let me be clear up front about something. This is not the end of our work in Minnesota. This is not the end of the beginning of our work in Minnesota. This is the beginning of our work in Minnesota.
What the hell is he talking about?
Fraud here.
He's supposed to say this is not the beginning of the end of our work. This is not the end of this is not the end of the beginning of our work. This is the beginning of our work. He just said, this guy said crazy stuff. Look at RFK's like, oh my God, this guy's dumb.
In Minnesota is shocking. Our cases today involve 7 different state-managed Medicaid programs that have been systematically pilfered by fraudsters who treated Minnesota-run programs as their personal piggy bank. One of the programs has been completely shut down because there's no money left. It's all gone.
All gone.
That was Minnesota's state-run Housing Stabilization Services Program, designed to help the homeless find and maintain housing. It was estimated in 2020 that it would cost only about $2.5 million a year to fund this program, but it ended up costing almost 50 times that much, over $104 million by 2024 due to fraud. And because of all the fraud, Minnesota had to shut the program down in 2025, and now these services no longer exist for these vulnerable homeless populations. The same trends exist for other Minnesota-run taxpayer-funded programs. An autism program that cost the taxpayer $600,000 just 6 years ago skyrocketed to over $400 million. And to be sure, that number is not driven by supply and demand. It is not driven by healthcare or charity. It is fraud.
Fraud. Yes. I owe Somalia $30,000. Just finished my taxes. I owe Somalia $30,000. Crazy, right? And here's Patel says, today, 15 individuals have been indicted for $90 million in alleged massive healthcare fraud scheme in Minnesota after sweeping FBI investigations. Yes. We finally stung one corrupt state senator, despite her being a black female, and got her out of office. That was a huge hesitation because of her gender and race before we did the sting now. Well, that's awesome. Seems like a good way to deflect blame, splash a big headline. That's what they do. I think the thing about I think it was the headline. Honestly, I think the reason they released the autopsy, as they're calling it, is because of the woman in Texas, the anti-Semite crazy lady talking about putting people in concentration camps and the fraud stuff. They're like, we got to do something. These charges involve 2 largest Medicaid fraud cases ever charged in the district, and a first of their kind charges involve 17 additional Medicaid programs. As alleged, defendants defrauded Minnesota public health resources of tens of millions of dollars, targeted programs such as housing stabilization services, childcare, Medicaid programs, and individualized home supports, and more. In one case, defendants even developed a scheme worth over $400 million to target the Early Intensive Development and Behavioral Intervention and Autism Healthcare Program. You don't say. Paying kickbacks to parents who fraudulently used autism centers to diagnose children with autism, regardless of medical necessity. This has not only defrauded taxpayers, but it robbed valuable resources from families that truly needed them. President Trump gave this law enforcement team a mandate to investigate and systematically dismantle this kind of public fraud in America. It grossly abuses and mismanages money from hard-working American taxpayers. It's exactly what we're doing. Today's indictment is a massive moment in this effort. More to come. Any chance of clawing our money back? Yeah, lock them up. There you go, right there. Lock them up. 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 The Trump task force is tackling $250 billion in government fraud. It's just getting started. Yeah, President Trump, J.D. Vance, and all of them are prosecuting the real fraudsters, defrauding Medicaid, Medicare, and all that jazz. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah. Dr. Vichy Ganesh and President Trump were targeted by the same corrupt prosecutor who worked as a man under Jack Smith. Yeah. Dr. Vichy Ganesh and President Trump were targeted by the same people. Wait, what happened here?
Pay-as-you-go workers' comp.
Saturday in America, I'm Kayleigh McEnany. For months, we've covered rampant fraud plaguing American cities, and the most common response we hear from you, the doing to hold these fraudsters accountable. I also asked how they plan to stop American taxpayer dollars, your money, from flowing overseas to terrorists. Now, as of today, the DOJ has secured multiple arrests across California and Minnesota. The task force also identified nearly $6.3 billion in suspected fraudulent government contracts and found 186,000 dead people who received SNAP benefits. But before the White House created this task force, it was independent journalists like Nick Shirley exposing the fraud in Minnesota. Now, that was across various programs within the state's Medicaid, autism, daycare services, and the grand total of fraud is estimated to be as high as $19 billion. And DHS sources tell Saturday in America.
It's just in Minnesota, $19 billion, just in Minnesota. What do you think the fraud is in California? What do you think the fraud is in Ohio? What do you think about Michigan, Pennsylvania? Minnesota is not a very populous state. Its population is very small. I mean, California, New York, Texas, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland. Come on, Florida. Get after this fraud. It's probably $1 trillion in fraud. I would say it's $1 trillion a year in fraud every year.
That nearly $700 million was flown out of Minneapolis heading to Somalia. Over in Ohio, it's more of the same. A new audit revealing millions of dollars have been wasted on the state's home healthcare industry. And get this, Fox went to 2 buildings that housed more than 6 home healthcare businesses between them. And similar to Minnesota, DHS sources tell us that $136 million flew from Columbus to Somalia once again.
What's
since
up, Hank?
2023.
What's up, Hank? Great to
Now,
see
to
you.
put that into perspective, major airports like JFK and Dallas-Fort Worth only reported $3 to $4 million in bulk cash transfers per year. Saturday in America also unearthed an auditor report showing that Governor Gavin Newsom was warned of hospice fraud years ago. And a whistleblower report sounding the alarm to Governor Tim Walz that taxpayer money was being funneled to terrorism. Our team had the opportunity to take our original reporting straight to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, directly to the White House task force to eliminate fraud. Now, my exclusive interview with Vice President J.D. Vance. Vice President J.D. Vance, thank you so much for being here today.
Of course.
Based on some state expert estimates we have seen, going back to 2019, the California State Medi-Cal program alone could have cost taxpayers $146 billion with a B in fraud.
Yep.
That's an extraordinary number. Could this be, that's one program, one state, $1 trillion fraud epidemic in the country?
Yes.
I mean, we don't really know how bad the fraud problem is because until Donald Trump became president, nobody actually took a serious look at it.
Nobody
It
looked
could be
at it.
hundreds of billions of dollars. It could be $1 trillion.
Trillion.
What we do know is that a lot of Americans are being taken advantage of. And whatever the scale is, it's big enough to really matter. And I think to make a significant hit, meaning American taxpayers could be paying less taxes. We could be saving more money. And I always try to remind people of this, Kaylee. There really are two costs and two victims. One is taxpayers getting fleeced, whether it's $100 billion or $1 trillion. That's a lot of money. But it's also, there are these programs that people in my family that I have benefited from that are meant to provide food to low-income kids, or meant to ensure that if you can't afford a doctor, you can still have access to medical care. Those programs are going to be destroyed by the fraudsters. So we're trying to protect American taxpayers. We're also trying to ensure that these critical programs are there for the American people. I think we're going to save a lot of money, but also do a lot of good.
Yeah, you could save $1 trillion. We'll see.
Let's
The
do
one
it.
thing I hear from viewers, from voters, is action. They want action. And they look at something like
Yes,
Minnesota,
we want
where
action.
the
We want arrest.
largest
We
Medicaid
want arrest.
fraudsters were prosecuted. One of those Medicaid fraudsters said, "We gonna party, bro," in a text message and a piece of evidence. That guy was let out on bond. They believe he's currently in Kenya. His co-defendant said, "Next pay period, bro, I will bill $50K." The judge just let him out with no jail time on a plea deal. What do you do with blue states like this?
Well, we just have to prosecute as much as we can. And we have to accept that, yes, there are going to be some blue states that fight us, but that doesn't mean we can't do our job. And for every person that slips through the cracks because of a crooked judge, we're going to get 10 people who actually go to prison or suffer real consequences for it. And we're also saving the American people a lot of money. You know, one of the things I've learned as vice president, I think the president, of course, appreciated this from his first term, is that you can have a rock solid case. You can have a fraudster, you can have them dead to rights, you can have them literally in a text message confessing to the crime, but sometimes you're still going to have corrupt judges. I think it drives home
corrupt
the
judges. Do
importance
something about the corrupt
of
judges.
getting better judges in the system, but also going after this stuff in a number of ways. So let me give you an example of this. We knew this was a problem going into this. We recognized that some of the blue state judges would not allow us to go after fraud as aggressively. So we're coming up with a number of legal theories that will allow us, under the system that we have, to prosecute people for fraud in jurisdictions where they're actually going to face justice. And we're working through that stuff right now. But we were aware this was going to be an issue. I promise we're on top of it. Yes, there are some people who are going to slip through the cracks, but we're going to get a lot of people. And that's going to be, I think, the action the American people deserve and want to see.
So arrest at the federal level, we'll be looking for that. When you look at this, it's hard to keep up with. You see fraud in Medicaid, SNAP, childcare, foreign student visas, student loans, COVID. And then I just read in the Wall Street Journal, fraud related to a minute theater and music COVID tagline there that was worth $10 billion. How does the system allow this kind of rampant fraud?
Because no one ever looked at it. No one ever asked themselves, are the American people being fleeced? Nobody ever asked, for example, if you're paying hundreds of billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to a Medicare provider, is that provider actually giving services to people? Or let's say you have somebody who's claiming that they need help under Medicaid to provide care for an autistic child. Was anybody actually asking the question, do they have an autistic child? Do they even have a child at all who would need to benefit from these services? So the fact that nobody ever asked the question is a scandal, but it's one of the things the President of the United States came in saying, we have to fix this, we have to change this, and we have started doing exactly that. If people ask me all the time, Kaylee, is this a difficult job? Like, is it hard to find fraud? And the unfortunate answer is no, it's not. And there's so much of it. There's so much across so many different programs. You mentioned a lot of them just in the lead up to the question. What I try to think of myself when I think of goals is 2 years from now, I hope that it's hard for us to find the fraud. That's the ultimate measure of success because there is so much sitting on top that nobody's really looked at. We've changed that. We've got to keep on going after it.
Our team at Saturday in America unearthed a publicly available 87-page document that was addressed to the governor of California in 2022, who was Gavin Newsom. And it showed him a map of where to find hospice fraud. And his selling point of him taking action was a moratorium on hospice centers and the closing down of 287 centers over 4 years. I heard you've closed down 800 hospice. How were you able to do in 2 months what he did a fourth of in 4 years?
By doing our jobs. Again, this is not rocket science. The fraud is right there for everybody to see. I'll give you a crazy statistic. We closed down 800 fraudulent hospice centers. Think about this. If you're running a business.
You don't know who this guy is? This is Vice President J.D. Vance. This is Vice President J.D. Vance. I just got an alert that I had got another donation. It's amazing that I got another donation. Ohio Hospice. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Hold on.
And the federal government closes down your main source of revenue, do you write a letter? Do you make a phone call? 780 of those that we've closed down, we haven't even heard a single thing from anybody. That's how bad the fraud is. They can't even make an argument that they weren't engaged in fraud, so to the point that when we shut them down, they wouldn't even pick up the phone and try to turn those services back on. We've just looked where nobody else has been looking, whether it's Gavin Newsom or anybody else. And by the way, Kaylee, one of the things that we're trying to take very seriously, we're not going to prejudge the legal outcome, but when you tell me that, when I hear about a report that says to the governor, here's all this fraud, and he doesn't do anything about it, I ask myself, was anybody engaged in criminal wrongdoing? Was anybody in his office engaged in criminal wrongdoing? Again, I'm not going to say yes, but I am going to promise the American people we're going to look into that stuff, we're going to investigate it, and we're going to take it seriously, because if there was criminal wrongdoing, then people ought to go to prison for it.
I understand the facts have to match the law.
Exactly.
I understand you're not the DOJ, but state level, state official prosecutions, I mean, you're taking this seriously, that you will follow the facts here.
100%. In Minnesota, in California, and a number of the other states where some of which we've gotten started, some of which we haven't even gotten started yet, we are aggressively investigating. Let me give you just one statistic, something I'm very proud of, because I think it shows the pace of DOJ. And the Attorney General, Todd Blanche, is working with us. He's doing a great job. Is normally it would take, you discover the fraud in Minneapolis, it would take 6 months to go from that discovery to any kind of legal process. We served 22 subpoenas 2 months after that fraud ring was discovered in Minneapolis at the federal level. We're investigating this stuff aggressively. Again, we're not the Biden administration. We don't prejudge the outcome, but I guarantee, unless something crazy is going on, I guarantee there's going to be some criminal wrongdoing that we're going to find, because there's so much wrongdoing, somebody had to know what they were doing.
Staying once more on the topic of prosecutions, there's also a 2019 report from the Office of the Inspector General in Minnesota. That is Tim Walz's time. And there's a whistleblower report in there. And the whistleblower said this. He was an investigator. He said it is a near certainty that at least a percentage of the fraud proceeds in Minnesota go overseas and are being siphoned off by one or more designated terrorist organizations. John Yoo, who worked in the Bush DOJ, told me that this should be given to the DOJ Counterterrorism and National Security Division. We need to know who transferred the money, if was anyone aiding and abetting, because that could be material support for terrorism. Is that the level of detail that you expect this administration?
Absolutely. But that's a great idea. I haven't heard that, but we will immediately take that to the team, because that should be a counterterrorism investigation. And this drives home something that I've loved about working on this fraud task force is, yeah, we've got a lot of resources and we're working very hard on this. Some of the best stuff, whether it's Nick Shirley or whether it's you raising that with me, citizens have a role to play in this. And we've actually set up a fraud hotline where people can call in.
Well, that's awesome. They set up a fraud
and suggest that maybe they're seeing services to people. Just a child.
That's awesome. They set up a fraud hotline. So for years, the government has failed to protect its citizens from fraudsters. Instead, they let people, especially foreign-born immigrants from developing world, take advantage of us and bleed our taxpayers dry. That's crazy. The dog ate your homework, Miss Hacker. Oh, that's too bad. Don't worry about it, though. We're sure we could get you some new homework. So JD Vance said people are learning in real time that we won't accept this. So Vance, who's the chairman of the Anti-Fraud Task Force, and the FTC chairman are leading an unprecedented whole government effort to stop fraud. And we did not prosecute fraud in this country. If it's under 1.5 million per year, how absurd and insulting is that? Americans deserve better than to be ripped off and deprived of programs designed to help Americans in need. I mean, this is just completely different than the work that Kamala did, as the border czar. She didn't do nothing. She was just something so she could say, I didn't work on the border. I did drunk. So going to war requires a strategy. Thankfully, the task force has one, and it's working at unmatched levels. Yeah. So, anyone who's familiar with financial prosecutions understand it's much easier to police fraud before the money leaves the account. Well, that's why they don't want to do it, because once it's gone, it's gone. Well, there's an old saying: once given, gone. Once somebody gives away the money, it's gone and it's not coming back. You might be able to arrest the person, but you ain't going to find the money. Today, the administration is implementing advanced forensic accounting and fraud detection tools. You're probably using AI. I wonder if Elon is helping with this stuff. Has like Grok AI searching for fraud. So yeah, advanced AI tools are being used to detect suspicious patterns. There you go. And they're targeting more than just Medicare and Medicaid fraud. The task force is going to look at high-risk programs like SNAP and student loans and other small business loans. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So here we go. We got some more talkity talk. Come on.
Breaking news, the vice president has stepped up to the microphone with his fraud statement. Let's listen.
Several months, trying to make sure that we take care of the people's money and trying to make sure that the services that exist for the betterment of our fellow citizens, whether they're low-income kids who need access to food resources, whether they're low-income families who need access to medical benefits, that those programs are protected for the people who actually need them, that they don't exist to enrich fraudsters, but they exist for the American people for whom Congress has said they're entitled. And that's exactly what this fraud task force is about. One of the things that I thought going into it, but that I've learned about fraud is that it always has two fundamental victims.
The fundamental victims. The government and the taxpayers are getting robbed, and the people who should have got the money, who need the money, are getting robbed. Brian Ogden, thank you so much. One Jim Tells You gifted membership. That gifted membership went to a person named CDZ9000. CDZ9000 received gifted membership. Thanks to Brian Ogden. Welcome to seeing, starting to pay attention. Someday you might see the Matrix. And with that means we are now just $34 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Greg says, appreciate the honest discussions. I try, man. I'll have it with you guys. You guys got something to say it back to me. I try to talk to the chat as much as I can, answer the questions. Biden should have to pay back what he gave Stacey Abrams. Yes, somebody should. Stacey Abrams should pay it back or something. Criminals are chumps in the long run. Well, could be.
First victim is the American taxpayer, who is generously paid into these programs in an effort to give their fellow citizens a leg up. But it also has as its victims the people who are meant to benefit from these programs, who are not able to benefit, or maybe are benefiting less because of what a disaster some of the fraud has wrought in these programs. And let me just give you a few concrete examples of what we're worried about, of what we're targeting, and also what we're going to do to solve some of these problems. So first, we're announcing that the federal government is deferring $1.3 billion in Medicaid reimbursements from the state of California. And the simple reason is because the state of California has not taken fraud very seriously. And because of that, we see a lot of the consequences that I just referenced. And again, let me highlight the fact that this really is two separate victims. So there are California taxpayers and American taxpayers who are being defrauded because California isn't taking its program seriously. But also you have people who've been prescribed medications that they don't even need. Sometimes they've had drugs put into their bodies that they don't need because fraudsters have actually encouraged false prescriptions and false administration of medications. So think about this. You're just a person trying to go see a doctor. You assume that your doctor is doing the right thing, but these fraudulent healthcare providers are getting rich by giving people medications they don't even need. It's a defrauding of the American taxpayer, but it's a violation of the trust that should exist between every American and the people who prescribe the medications. That's one thing that we're targeting. And this is why we're taking this action, is because we want California to get serious about this fraud.
Well, I think that to answer your question, don't forget Ohio. They're not going to forget Ohio, but California is the most populous state. So they probably have the most fraud. Thank you, Brian Ogden, for another gifted membership. With that goes to went to Mega Tazmom. Mega Tazmom received a gifted membership from Brian Ogden. Thank you, Mega Tazmom, and thank you, Brian Ogden. With that means, folks, we are now just $28 away. Just $28 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. Yes. What's to say? Washington State, during the Governor Inslee's tenure, we spent over $10 billion on the homeless crisis, with most going to bloated bureaucracy and fraud. Homelessness is worse than ever. Wow. If our people, government, are made to pay back the money they gave out illegally, it will stop. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it
The
be
second thing I
nice?
want to talk about, and it requires a little bit of background explanation, is that we are going to very aggressively encourage the states to take Medicare fraud more seriously. So I think a lot of you understand, but for those of you watching at home who don't appreciate this, the Medicaid system that exists in the United States is really 50 separate systems. The federal government pays most of the Medicaid money, but then each of the individual states actually administers the Medicaid program. Now, we have red states and blue states that go after fraud aggressively, but we also unfortunately have some states, mostly blue states, unfortunately, that do not take Medicaid fraud very seriously. So you have what's called Medicaid Fraud Control Units, or MFCUs. These Medicaid fraud, these anti-fraud units within the Medicaid program, we generously, meaning the federal government generously gives these fraud control units many, many billions of dollars across the United States of America so that they can take Medicaid fraud seriously. But let me just give you an example to highlight how absurd some of these Medicaid fraud programs are, because they're not actually being used at all. This is a tool. This is a tool that we want the states to use, but unfortunately, a lot of states aren't using these tools at all. Let me highlight this with just a couple of separate statistics.
We're going to end this in a second here. Get on to the next story.
The Hawaii Medicaid the Hawaii Medicaid program has received billions and billions of dollars from the federal taxpayers. And of course, Hawaii taxpayers have paid in a lot of money into this program over the last years as well. Guess how many convictions or indictments has Hawaii had over the last few years in its Medicaid fraud program? The answer is 0. Not a single indictment, not a single conviction, because the administrators of the Hawaii program just don't.
Hey, what's up, Dalu?
They don't think that fraud is a big enough problem. They don't care about protecting resources. They don't care about protecting that Medicaid program. So what does that mean? That means that if you're committing fraud in Medicaid in Hawaii, at least up until now, hopefully now they're going to take it seriously, you have had effectively free reign from the government of Hawaii to commit as much fraud as you want. That is a complete disgrace. In New York, which does a little bit better, but not by much, New York has had 9 indictments over the last year. 9 indictments. That's a $100 billion Medicaid program just in New York, and you've had 9 indictments. Indiana, which has about a third of the population of the state of New York, has had more than 4 times as many indictments over the same period. So does anybody here seriously think that the good people of Indiana are 12 times more likely to commit fraud than the people of New York? No, of course not. That's absurd. What is happening is that the people the leadership in New York are just not taking the fraud issue seriously. They're not using these anti-fraud control units to actually investigate and indict the fraud.
Yeah. I'll say you're right. I think he needs smaller statements. He's got these large statements and doing stuff. But so that's that. Minnesota fraud suspects hobbles away after jumping out a 4th floor balcony. So they were doing these raids, and this guy just jumps out the window to try to get away. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy what happened. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Crazy. Where are we at here? Oh, there it is. What is going on? Why does this keep happening to me? The FBI is on a hunt for a suspect tied to a $90 million fraud. Are they going to show the picture of the guy running away? Oh, here he is. All right, never mind. We don't need to see this. So here we go. Muhammad Omar, one of 15 people accused of defrauding Minnesota's Medicaid program, ran from FBI agents on Thursday just before officials led a conference on the case. Footage of the scene showed Omar hopping the grounds on 1 foot while holding a shoe in his hand. They're saying he's jumped from a 4-story window. The suspect's tied to a $90 million fraud case. Jumped from a 4th floor balcony. There he is, falling to the ground. Look at him. Bloom. He was seen wearing a white shirt and blue shorts. The suspect tripping and falling before walking into an unknown building. Colin McDonald, assistant attorney for the Attorney General for National Fraud Enforcement Division, called the public to help find him. I would encourage the public to help turn this man in to face justice for the fraud that he's perpetrated. Omar is being charged with conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud. I thought there was a thing of him talking about it. I'm not seeing a link to it. The stolen money was spent on luxury real estate, vehicles, expensive jewelry. McDonald suggests the total amount of the fraud that hit the state will exceed $9 billion. Oh. Wow. 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 Yes, rest in peace, Cal Bush. Yes, Cal Bush has died. Hobbled away to freedom. Analytics is great, but no one has the attention span. Yeah, I know. I'm trying. I can see. No, it's 2.86 trillion per trillion. Wow. They said he was caught. Okay. So top Democrat lawmakers duck questions with press on Plattner's Reddit scandal.
Is Graham Plattner alive?
Here we go.
Mr. Leader, is Graham Plattner a liability for Democrats after those lewd Reddit posts were exposed?
I haven't seen those posts.
I haven't seen those posts.
Senator, is Graham Plattner a liability right now for Democrats after those Reddit posts, the lewd posts that just were revealed? Senator, do you rescind your endorsement of Graham Plattner after those lewd posts on Reddit?
Yeah.
Are you reconsidering endorsing Plattner after those lewd Reddit posts that came out?
Senator, what about Talarico, sir? What about the president endorsing Paxton over Cornyn? Do you think that changes the dynamic in Texas?
The Republicans in Texas are in a shambles, and we're going to win Texas.
Yeah, sure you will. Sure you will. So top leaders refuse to answer questions about whether Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner's newly uncovered vulgar posts have become a liability. Yeah, because the Nazi tattoo wasn't. I haven't seen no posts. I ain't seen no ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Yeah. Newly surfaced Reddit post tied to Plattner from an archive roughly 2,000 salacious takes. Yeah. Someone named Omar committing fraud. I wonder if he's related to a congressman. Yeah, could be. I'm confused. I have to recalculate. He's a Key and Peele character. Yep, he is. We all need to go to the Leering Center to learn how to steal 2.86 trillion. Yeah. Liz Warren can move fast for an old lady. Yep, $1 trillion divided by 350 million is about 2.86. Don't cross the streams. Yep, don't do that. Don't cross the streams. Yeah. Sexual comments, talking about masturbating in public toilets, praising explicit graffiti, depicting genitalia. This is the guy. He's a communist. And another post, he mocked a Purple Heart U.S. soldier that was nearly killed in combat, called him a dumb FFer. He's still talking, he's talking about this. So progressive communist Elizabeth Warren declined to comment on whether she would rescind her backing after endorsing him in the primary against Janet Mills, who pulled out last month after falling behind in the polls. Warren's endorsement came after Plattner has already been scrutinized for some of his other controversial Reddit posts, including comments praising Hamas's tactics, telling rape victims to take accountability, and asking why black people don't tip. This is also after Plattner's chest tattoo resembling a Nazi symbol. It was a fucking Nazi symbol. It didn't resemble shit. It was a fucking totem cough, man. Stop it. Totem cough. All right? As well as a participation in the subreddit R Socialists, where he described himself as a communist. Easy 50 more can be more, 8 to 10 feet per story. That's not the that's not, it was not a Jolly Roger. It was not a Jolly Roger. He knows it was a Totenkopf. He admitted it was a Totenkopf. How are people just taking responsibility for themselves and not getting so effed up, wind up having sex? Oh, stuff. He says, post came from a deleted Reddit account with the username P Hustle, Plattner Hustle, which Plattner claimed ownership of. All the deleted posts can be found in the main monitor's database. Warren defended both Plattner and her endorsement. Ooh. He says, how about the next hour? Wow, thank you. Thank you for the 30. That means right now we are...
Tactical assessment. Red Chinese victory. Impossible. America will never fall to communist invasion. Communism is the very definition of failure.
Thank you so much, Finch. With that, that means we are now just $98 away from a third additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. Wow. Well, Brian Ogden with a rally. Okay. Thank you so much. A Nazi communist. That's an anthem. Well, you know, he's very confused. He's very confused. With that, that means we are now just $88 away from a third additional hour to the show. I will be resetting the goal on YouTube shortly. Thank you all so much. Like and dislike higher building. The standard height per story is typically 10 feet. However, this can vary slightly depending on a building's design, with some measurements between 10 and 14 feet. Nazis hated communists and vice versa. Well, maybe he hated himself. I don't know. He had a Nazi tattoo and called himself a communist. Finch became a new member. Wow, thank you so much, Finch, for becoming a new member. Finch is welcome to casual listeners. That means we are now $84 away from adding a third additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. National Socialists. Yeah, Nazis. I know, but see, socialists and communists are pretty close to each other, so that's why. That's why they're pretty damn close. So let me do this. So we're now $84 away from a third additional hour. Let me create a new goal over here on YouTube for 2 hours. 10 super chats, $10 or higher. Say this. We are currently $84 away from a third additional hour. Thank you all so much. Wow, the generosity tonight has been so amazing. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much. Yes, you guys have been great tonight. So Senate minority Chuck Schumer also declined repeatedly being asked questions. Schumer. That's how he do. That's how he do. National Socialists not likely to hate commies as much as they hated the Bolsheviks. I think nowadays that the modern communists and the actual national socialists, whatever, democratic socialists, whatever you want to call them, I think they're pretty close. They're pretty closely aligned. That's what I think anyway. But that's my opinion. You know, opinions are like bungholes. Everybody has one, and everybody thinks everyone else's stinks. Yes, we are family. So Schumer endorsed Mills before she ended her campaign over Plattner in a face-off against longtime Republican Susan Collins. Plattner told Fox News Digital last week that he wouldn't support Schumer as party leader going forward, even after describing the encounter as perfectly cordial. Yes, he would support someone else. Schumer's number one target says voters will see her Democrat Senate candidate as too extreme. Plattner is widely viewed as a presumptive Democrat nominee to unseat Collins. Democrats have so far shown little distancing themselves from Plattner. A super PAC backing Collins has spent $4 million on attack ads against Plattner. Well, that seems like a waste of money if you're only spending $4 million. There should be a lot more money spent on that than there was in Kentucky. Just saying. Did they waste too much money in Kentucky? And then what about all the money that's been wasted in fucking Texas to try to prop up scumbag Cornyn? Like millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars spent in Texas for Cornyn. So Plattner previously defended himself from criticism of these posts by saying he was joking. Yeah, they were just jokes, just jokes. You should read these comments in context. I'm very clearly joking. It's called shit posting. So we got a shit poster for Senate. Congratulations. We've got a shit poster going to be in the Senate. Democrat Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner gushed over phallic graffiti. So we saw all this stuff. So he had the name P. Hustle. He commented on a lot of stuff. It just says, Dem candidate with Nazi tattoo caught making a repulsive porta potty admission in Hunter's social media. This guy, fucking clown. Far left communist Senate candidate with the Nazi tattoo is under fire once again for previous social media posts. 41-year-old Marine veteran turned radical leftist came under fire after it was revealed he has a chest tattoo with an infamous SS Totenkopf skull and crossbones, a symbol straight out of Hitler's playbook. They tried to say what they tried to say about it was, oh no, listen, it wasn't from the Nazis. It was before the Nazis. He's like a reverse Dankula. Yeah, he's like totally like a reverse Dankula. Dank has commie tattoos and a pug. Yeah. That Dankula hates commies, though. Dankula hates commies. He did a video. If you watch the video that he did a while ago about the King of Gypsies, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's like the King of Gypsies, the Mad Lads. At the end of it, he does like a promo thing where he's basically calling out Vosh at the end of the video. It's hysterical. It's hysterical. Jimmy Page wore Nazi stuff. Okay. He claims he got it drunk and Liberty when he was on Liberty in Croatia and had no idea it screamed Nazi. But the K file drug up deleted post from 2019 where Plattner discussed the very same symbol and its Nazi ties. News outlets have since discovered more Reddit posts calling himself a communist and calling Jesus a zombie. Wow. He says he has to wank off when he's in a porta potty from the smell. Wow. He praised the image in disgusting terms, calling it beautiful and gorged and veiny. Wow. That's crazy. Plattner had claimed he was joking. Okay. Well, this just says Graham Plattner mocked U.S. soldier wounded by Taliban. Wrote about so it's just over and over. So we'll have to see. We'll just have to see. We're gonna jump into this next story here. We can't fund these lunatics. No, we can't. Keith Moon would dress up as Hitler. This is a crazy. This is a crazy story. We're going to watch this real quick. It says, the headline here says, Ohio woman accused of illegally voting as a non-citizen found not guilty. This is the craziest story in the world. They said it was entrapment because when she went to get a driver's license, the clerk told her to, do you want to sign up to vote? And she said, yeah. And so that wasn't her fault that she was registered to vote illegally and voted illegally because she would have never did it if the clerk didn't ask her if she wanted to sign up to register to vote. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? Can you believe it? Let's see. This is that's crazy. So it says a U.S. citizen. She wasn't a citizen at the time that she voted. She didn't become a citizen until 2022 or something like that, or 2023. But she voted in 2018 and 2020 before she was a citizen. A U.S. citizen was found not guilty of voting illegally in 2018 when she was a lawful permanent resident. A guilty verdict would have led up to 18 months in prison for Maria DeRaujo, but Franklin County Common Pleas Judge Chris Brown sided with the defense argument of entrapment. This generally entails a government actor leading a person to commit a crime they wouldn't have otherwise committed. This is such bullshit. This should be challenged because there's no fucking way that something that happened years later because somebody talked to her about registering to vote, that somehow somehow that was entrapment for her to vote illegally a year or two later. This is reasoning not to give illegal non-citizens a driver's license. I just moved. They asked if I want to register to vote. They do it automatically. They don't ask you if you're legally allowed to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they don't have any proof. Yeah, Franklin County judges are mostly Dems. Yeah, they just had her words saying that the clerk told her to register to vote. That's it. She said, well, the clerk told me to do it. So this is all bullshit. This is all lies. It's believable where clerks are not just the brightest bulbs and a DMV clerk needs to be arrested. Yeah. Brown, a Democrat, said that her testimony lines up with documentary evidence. She admitted to inconvenient facts like having voted when she knew she wasn't a citizen. But she got the idea from and relied on advice from a Bureau of Motor Vehicles clerk. Whatever happened to the old saying that ignorance of the law is no excuse? The defendant testified she never thought about voting or intended to vote until a BMV clerk, a government official, told her to register. Brown said the court finds that Mr. Deregulation has proven by a preponderance of the evidence an affirmative defense of entrapment. This is bullshit. There's no evidence the woman told her to register. She just went in there and said, the clerk told me to register. Yeah. And they think this is a yay. You know, this woman immigrated from Brazil in 93, was naturalized as a U.S. citizen 30 years later. So her citizenship should be immediately revoked. Immediately. She voted illegally. She should be denaturalized. She clasped her hands in prayers when the ruling was announced. She said, thank you so much. The verdict makes for a major loss for Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, a Republican who trumpeted the charges against her and 5 others at a press conference in 2024. My volume's low? My volume low? I can turn it up a little, but it shouldn't be low. Let me see. Is that better? Is that a little better? For some reason, Microsoft turned it down again. Sorry. I hope that's better. This is 100 years of reality coming home to roost. Yeah. His announcement occurred at the early stages of a since-aborted gubernatorial run amid a presidential election cycle dominated by the eventual winner of Donald Trump. Neither state prosecutor on the case nor Yost press team would say whether the official office plans to an appeal. Yost recently announced plans to resign early, effective June 7th, to work for a religious advocacy group. Mike DeWine has since appointed Andy Wilson, current director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety, in the role. Wilson said last week that he's reviewing all current cases with rank and file prosecutors. Reviewing this ruling, said a Yost spokesperson, when asked for commitment. Yeah. I taught Killer's book title was It Takes a Villain. Yeah. Sure, there are no cigarette butts. Deregulation's trial painted a far more nuanced picture of alleged voter fraud than the mosaic offered by conservatives. Rather than any efforts to deceive, the evidence revolved around a woman who spoke broken English and said she only voted after a Bureau of Motor Vehicles clerk suggested she could. Now it's just she suggested she could. Wait, first it was she told her she could. Now she suggested. And stopped doing so when the Secretary of State's office told her it was illegal. Oh. Conflicting apps countering each other. It happens all. He's got the same name as the first Blue Ranger. Decision is not a total surprise coming from Brown, who at pretrial hearing last year called the timing fishy and accused Yost of using Deregulation as a political prop. Jim was just speaking strong for a minute. Because she waived her right to trial by jury, she went through a bench trial and the judge decides the outcome. Most of the facts of the case are uncontested. During a 2005 interaction, Deregulation registered to vote. And a form she signed at the time included a circle around the yes answer to the question whether she's a U.S. citizen. She lied on the form that she was a U.S. citizen, and she's not. It's not fucking entrapment. She testified that she didn't circle the box and the state didn't summon testimony from the clerk who handled the transaction to confirm or deny. How's a fucking clerk going to remember? Despite the registration, Deregulation didn't vote in the ensuing years. Her vehicle registration expired in 2015, prompting another trip to the BMV. That's where she said she was told she can vote. Her registration update form includes no answer to the same written question about her citizenship. So when she went and got a new license, so she checked that she was a citizen in 2005. And then 10 years later, when she renewed her license, they just automatically updated because it said she was a citizen on her last form. Her registration update form includes no answer to the same written question, which led the state to rely on her 2005 attestation. She voted in the primary and general elections in 2016 and the general election in 2018. A subsequent investigation by the Secretary of State's office in the fall of 2019 informed her that she, a non-citizen, voted twice in 2018 illegally. I'm asking that you complete and return the attached form in order to confirm that you are a U.S. citizen or cancel your voter registration. DeRoy didn't vote again until 2024 when she was a naturalized citizen. She broke the law in her registration too. She got registered, and when she went and filed for her naturalization, they ask you if you've committed any fucking crimes. She voted illegally. She committed a crime. Yeah, this just shows that Democrats don't care about facts, just to vote. It's 100% right. While the acquittal is probably better than finding a guilt, she could still face significant legal consequence from the federal government. Yeah, trial evidence shows that in her 2023 citizenship application, she said she had never registered or voted in U.S. elections. Had she said yes, the application would have been rejected. That's a crime. She's a fucking criminal. She's repeatedly broke the fucking law. She swore on fucking papers and lied twice now on federal papers. The first one saying she's a citizen to vote. The second one saying she fucking didn't do it to get naturalized. She needs to be fucking denaturalized and kicked the fuck out of the country immediately. We've got to get rid of these commie judges. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who was the judge? Some judge named Brown, which everyone said they knew. So more than likely, he's a common pleas judge. They said that's why they were saying that. Oh, that's why she took the fucking bench trial, because she knew, her lawyers knew that this judge would acquit her, because the judge is probably one of these people that lets illegals out the back door. It's a crime to make false statements on a government form, and a citizen can be denaturalized for making false statements in order to become naturalized. Ding, ding, ding. Get this bitch out of here. Under previous presidential administrations, denaturalization were saved for the worst of the worst offenders, like large-scale criminals or Nazi prison guards. No, all of them. You fucking lied to get naturalized, you're fucking out of here. Were she convicted, the administration will likely try to denaturalize her, which could open the door to deportation. He's less certain about the outcome given the acquittal, but thinks there's still plenty of room. Why would she fucking lie? Just because the judge said she was entrapped, she still lied on the form. Yeah. Democrats are factose intolerance. Like Joe says, I prefer my truth over facts. Yeah. I don't think she's completely out of the woods. No, she's not. Especially with this becoming a story, she's going away. She's leaving. She immigrated to Ohio from Arpangos, Brazil in 93. She overstayed a visa, but eventually met a citizen who she married in 97. She voted as a Democrat in 2016 and 2018, as an independent in 2024. Excerpts from her citizenship application shows at trial that she became a lawful permanent resident on November 30th, 99. Signals statewide her records with the court shows. In a brief interview, she said she currently works in a factory and works hard there. So another thing, she's been here for 30 fucking years and she speaks broken English. I don't feel guilty, she says. She got to go. She has no remorse either. The 6 illegal voting cases Yost brought have drawn poor results. 2 cases are pending. One ended in a public embarrassment. A Cuyahoga County suspect named by Yost has been dead by more than a year at the time of the indictment. But he still voted illegally and probably voted as a fucking dead person. In Summit County, a woman who was 78 at the time of indictment entered an intervention in lieu of conviction, which allowed her to avoid a finding of guilt. Still fucking did it. Yeah, and this person entered a plea of no contest after 2 motions to dismiss You know, so they're all just playing games with the fucking court system. He said he did so knowing that he could face deportation no matter the sentence. Yeah, well, Walton declined to comment, but said Fontaine has no criminal history. He registered with the Selective Service when he turned 18. He works full time. He's not a U.S. citizen. Why would he register with the fucking Selective Service? Wow, man. Wow. Oh, there she is. Look at her up there. Yeah. Send her home. Back to Brazil. Back to Brazil. Ohio woman. No, Brazilian woman. Who voted. She's not accused. She voted as a non-citizen. Those facts are uncontroverted. Spectrum News and all you other ones. She admitted that she voted as a non-citizen. This is fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Ohio woman accused of voting as a non-citizen acquitted at trial. She admitted to voting as a non-citizen. See how they play fucking games with the headlines? You go, wait, oh, so what? She wasn't a non-citizen? And then reports go, no. You know, like the headline tries to say, oh, she's a citizen. No, she's not. She became a citizen after she illegally voted and after she lied about illegally voting. So her citizenship is null and fucking void. Get her out. Get her out of here. All right. Here we go. Next story here. Yes, we cool. Yeah, we the people are being played. Yes, we are. We're being played. I sure was an organ donor as well, probably. Trump says he hopes Spencer Pratt does well in the LA mayoral race, blast California's rigged elections.
Former reality TV star?
No, I'd like to see him do well. He's
a former reality TV star. Fucking Trump was a billionaire businessman who was famous worldwide, well known before he was a reality TV. Holy fuck, you fucking scumbags.
a character.
Spencer Pratt, do you see yourself in him at all? A former reality TV star?
No, I'd like to see him do well. He's a character. I don't know him. I assume he probably supports me. Does he support me?
I think so.
So yeah, I heard he does. I heard he's a big MAGA person. He's doing well. I don't know. You know, if you have a rigged vote out there, that's the problem. The votes are rigged. You have a really rigged vote in California. You have all the mail-in ballots, everything else. Very hard to win because the elections are very dishonest. If we had Jesus Christ come down and count the votes, I would have won California because I do great with Hispanics. But it's a rigged vote. They sent out 38 million votes. Nobody knows.
I have it turned up as loud as it'll go. It's up 600%.
Disproportionately, Democrats get many more votes. Some get 8 votes. They get 8 cards, and Republicans have to call in, where's my card? It's a rigged system. One of the most, not the worst, I'll give you a list. Maybe I'll do my list. But California's one of the most dishonest states for voting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
True.
So President Trump signaled support for... Why is that so fucking loud, Fox? You want to explain that? Volume on the clip is low. Yeah, I know. I turned it up as loud as it would go. I turned it up. I boosted it 600%. It says clearly in the Motor Voter Act that you have to be a citizen to vote. Yeah, well, she lied. She selected the thing that said she swore in 2005 that she was a citizen. 25 years before she became a citizen, she swore she was a citizen. Yeah, the commercials are always louder. Yeah, President Trump signaled support for if you apply for public benefits, they usually always hand out a voter registration application. Yeah, they're always trying to register people to vote, especially people anybody that they think might vote Democrat, they're going to always on these things they push to register, get them. So, I'd like to see him do well. I don't know him. I assume he probably supports me. Does he support me? I heard he does. So, they sent out 38 million votes. Nobody knows where they're going. Of course, the Democrats do. So I guess it's disproportionately Democrats get so many votes. Some get 8 votes, some get 8 cards. Republicans have to call, where's my card? Dude, where's my card? That was a dude, where's my card? That's a movie. Pratt and his wife, Heidi Montag, lost their Pacific Palisades home in January 2025 Los Angeles fire, which destroyed thousands of homes across the area. Those fires and demon rat communist Mayor Bass definite mismanagement, not alleged, were a prime catalyst for Pratt's decision to run for mayor. Standing here 1 year later, I have to tell the most heartbreaking part of my last year wasn't being displaced or losing everything. It was realizing that all this was preventable when he announced his candidacy on January 7th, 2026. Where's the law against supporting fraud? Yeah, I think there is a law. It's called conspiracy to commit fraud. Pratt has an Airstream trailer parked on a dirt lot where his Pacific Palisades home burned down in 2025. He has said that he stopped staying there after receiving death threats and because a security team warned the exposed lot was unsafe. Pratt and his family have reportedly spent time in temporary housing, including the Hotel Bel Air and rentals near Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, while he campaigns for Los Angeles mayor. You'll get a tattoo if Jim does of what? Driver's licenses should have to indicate citizenship status. Yes, they should. Here's this. How about don't give driver's license to non-citizens? Anyone who's not a citizen should get like a piece of paper or something different. That way people can't say they didn't know they weren't a citizen. So he's publicly questioned whether he can afford to rebuild permanently in the Palisades. He's garnered campaign buzz with provocative AI-generated campaign videos, which have been fantastic. And he has hardline stance on homelessness, drug addiction, including calls for stricter enforcement, mandatory treatment, and expanded incarceration for some repeat offenders. Dude, sweet. Obviously, you are, dude. Oh, okay. On the back, a big, like this. Dude, sweet. Dude, sweet. What's my tattoo say? Dude, no, dude. What's my tattoo say? Sweet. No, sweet. What's my tattoo say? Dude. The Senate rhinos are really backstabbing the president. Tillis flipped his gums today, too. Dude's a bitch. Yeah, they all suck. Yeah, they're calling it the YOLO. They're YOLO rhinos. You only live once rhinos. Pratt trails the incumbent Bass in major polling, though recent Emerson College polls show him surging up from 10% to 22%. Bass is polling at 30% in the same poll. I thought Pratt was like neck and neck with the commies. Why don't just do away with the motor voter altogether? It would be nice. The candidates are heading for a June 2nd primary that can see the declared winner if one candidate pulls more than 50% of the votes. If no candidate reaches 50%, the top two candidates will advance to a head-to-head in the general election slated for November. I'm going to get a tattoo of a Swiss bug on the bottom of my big toe. It'll be my first tattoo. Cool. Cool. Yeah, Trump just says, I'd like to see him do well. Trump breaks silence on Spencer Pratt's run for mayor. Oh, this looks like something we might want to watch. How Spencer Pratt climbed from reality TV villain to LA mayoral candidate.
Mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt may never escape his reality star past, but the longtime entrepreneur is more complex than headlines suggest.
And I have realized that the city I love is being managed into the ground.
Political science graduate, married father of two, world hunger advocate, outspoken Pacific Palisades fire survivor, and
I thought when you said, when I read Swiss bug, I thought you were talking about like the Swiss shield on like a Swiss Army knife. That's why I was like, okay. Yeah. I don't know if Pratt can win. I don't know if the people are upset enough. Swiss have bugs. I thought it was like the symbol on the Swiss Army knife. I thought some people call it a bug. Other people call it the Swiss shield. When you have removed the paper cover from Hillary Takes a Village, it was really she completely plagiarized Hitler's Mein Kampf. Yeah. Yeah, really.
Heidi Montag superfan, to name a few more descriptors. In this video, we will detail the rise of Spencer Pratt, the supervillain of reality TV.
You're making yourself proud, thinking about what you did.
To Spencer Pratt, the supervillain of current Los Angeles Mayor Karen, eventually graduated after taking
He would turn it around on you.
2008.
All it takes is
1918 video.
All right, well, this is just, they're just trying to trash him, talking about the stuff he did, so I'm not going to watch that. All right, he was on a TV show. It's a fucking TV show. It's not real life. You know what I mean? It was all scripted. Everybody supports me and wants me to succeed in LA because it's the most important city in our country.
True, Spencer Pratt, do you see yourself in him at all? A former reality.
Okay. Socialist Link City Councilman Neetha Raymond, who's been trailing Pratt in the polls, said last week that Trump is about to endorse Spencer. While explicitly endorsing Pratt, the president went on to claim they really rigged the vote in California. If we had Jesus Christ and come down and count the votes, I would have won. So, what's it say? Donald Trump, Heidi Montag, Melania Trump, and Spencer Pratt at an affliction fight event. When was this? This looks like a while ago because Trump looks and Melania looks younger. This is like many years ago. This is before Trump was president the first time. I'll go out on a limb. This was before Trump was president the first time. When is it from? 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 All right. On to the next story. The next story. He's going to get trashed for more than TV. So Trump and Zeldin announced a rollback of Biden's refrigerant rules. This is actually a very, very, very important thing because this is going to save the American people over $2.4 billion because Biden just all of a sudden started wanted all the grocery stores, all the restaurants, everywhere that they have commercial freezers and refrigerators where they have huge walk-in freezers, in all the grocery stores, they wanted to force them to change the refrigerant in it to a refrigerant that I don't know why, that doesn't work as good, basically. That doesn't perform as well. That would cause them to use more electricity, not to mention the cost of changing all the compressors because you got to change can't use the same compressors, you can't use the same coils. Everything's got to be changed. So basically, they were trying to force the entire fucking country, every grocery store, every gas station, everywhere that uses commercial refrigerators or freezers to replace the refrigerant systems. Asinine, insane. Yeah. Ozone hole, schmozone hole, it's gone. There is no more ozone hole. And they're not, basically, you have to trap all the stuff. It's not a big deal. We should be using the stuff that works. So President Trump and EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced rollback of two Biden administration refrigerant rules designed to fight global warming, which the administration says will save consumers $2.4 billion. An estimated $900 million in savings, mostly for grocery stores who executives joined the Oval Office announcements are achieved by setting aside a post-2023 phase-out of industrial fridges that use global warming potential hydrofluorocarbons. Yeah, they want them to switch to something that's actually fucking explosive and flammable. The stuff that they're putting in refrigerators now because of Biden is flammable. It can explode. But they say it's safer than the stuff that actually works. Yes, bring back Freon. Yeah, bring back R12. R12 needs to come back. They're well past R12. They're past R22. They're past R134. They're on to all these new crazy fucking R410, which is explosive. Not sure why farmers don't use natural fertilizer. Just a thought. Well, we could. Pratt had a great interview about the Second Amendment. Another $1.5 billion is expected to be saved by granting mass exemptions to roadway refrigeration units covered by the 2024 regulation intended to prevent leaks. Yeah, they're using butane. It's crazy. They're using butane. It's nuts. It's crazy. I mean, all the refrigeration trucks, all the big, everything, just billions of dollars. It's nuts. Many Americans were expressing a lot of frustration and anger over this rushed, frantic, reckless sprint by the Biden administration to phase out reliable equipment for grocery stores, restaurants, and homes. Americans who want to be able to fix their equipment were instead being required to buy far more costly new equipment. And that just doesn't make any sense. Refrigeration trucks were being handed impossible restrictions to meet. Yeah, it was a money grab. It was a money grab. Kroger CEO Greg Foran, whose company owns 2,700 grocery stores, thanks the administration, saying an orderly transition of equipment reduces both capital costs and operating costs. At the end of the day, that's good for consumers because we're able to take that and put that into lowering prices. Obviously, these things have a lifespan, but an orderly transition allows us to move in a way in which we keep the price of groceries down. Kevin McDaniel, who operates 250 Piggly Wiggly supermarkets in the Southeast, told the president that the pending rule would have caused financial ruin. People don't realize it's not just a refrigerant change, it's an equipment change. Yeah, they have to completely change all the equipment. You can't use any of the same stuff. Everything would have had to be replaced. Our stores run from 25 to 50,000 square feet. You could look for 800,000 to 1.5 million per store to do a change out. What's it say? Well, damn, just upgraded my 92 Chevy to R134. Hopefully cars are not forced yet. R12 was already a bitch to get by. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know if you can get R12 anymore. I mean, it used to sell for big money back in the late 90s, early 2000s. You used to be able to get, you couldn't really buy it anymore. So the only place that you can, the only place that you could get it that was still used, the R12 was still used, was for like the big refrigeration trucks, like Thermo King and stuff, because they got it, that's the only thing that works for those units to keep that stuff cold like that. It's not gonna work right. And that's the thing, like people don't realize, like you start changing into the shit that doesn't really work. Like, have you noticed new refrigerators? They don't make your shit cold. It takes forever to get cold, and then immediately the cold disappears, and it takes forever for it to get cold. It does. It takes forever. These new shit takes forever to get cold. Special license. It was outrageous, so it just justified the conversion costs. Yeah. You would have put independents out of business. You would have seen grocery prices soar. Jonathan Gay, owner of the grocery store Fresh Food in Claxton, Georgia, said, I'm the only store in the country of 10,000 and called the Axe mandate unbelievably cost prohibitive. Once I go away, you've created a food desert. So it's very beneficial that this happened today. It's much more complicated than anyone thinks to try and rush this through and just do it all the wrong way. They never, that's the thing about these fucking communist Democrats. They never look at the other things that are going to happen because of the shit they just decide to do. Everything is top down, foot on your neck, force you to do it by threat of force with a gun. That's what they do. They take a gun and they threaten you and they ruin your fucking life. The EPA estimates the pivot will directly save grocery stores $800 million. Details of deregulation were first reported by USA Today and were part of a broader Trump administration rollback of the rules intended to curb climate change. Yeah, I remember when Xbox headsets and controllers could last 3+ years with heavy use. Now you're looking at 1 year. Dude, I had an Xbox controller that stopped working after 2 months. The buttons the springs broke and everything is shit now. After Freon was nuked, the replacement of my car only worked on cloudy days, sunny summer days, and no different than just running with the windows down. Yeah, the same. The shit don't work. The new shit don't work. It does not work as good. Buy a brand new refrigerator, all right? Buy a brand new refrigerator that uses the butane shit. And watch how long it takes to cool your shit down. And then once you put stuff in it, like the temperature immediately rises in there and it takes forever for it to get cold. The freezers, you open the freezer door and immediately shit starts defrosting in there. It's insane. You are the means of production they want to seize. Yeah, they want to seize you. They want to give you a seizure. A seizure. That's what they want. Seizure. Today, thanks to reforms, the American people have lower grocery prices, cheaper transportation of goods, and lower costs of air conditioning at no detriment at all to our country. Zero, including environmental detriment. That's just insane. What happened to him? Tragic details about Big Bang Theory star Simon Helberg. This just says Trump ease refrigerant rule in bid to address surging grocery costs. Oh, it's more efficient. Oh, okay. It's more efficient. It doesn't make shit as cold, dude. I don't care what you say. I'm sorry. It doesn't make shit as cold. All right. Wi-Fi is actually look for a kitchen fridge. Are all the new ones that way? I think so. I think they're all the same way. And well, I mean, saying something's more efficient is saying that it's easier or something. It works, whatever. Yeah, I want to go back to R12, R12, R10, R22, R134. You know, what was wrong with those? Trump signed an executive order. Yeah, I talked about that last night. He signed an executive order pushing banks not to give accounts to illegal aliens. It uses less electricity to do the same job. Well, no, it doesn't, because it doesn't make it as cold. It does not get as cold. It does not lower the temperature as much. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. R2D2 is better. Sounds like a lot of salmonella coming. Yeah. Propane is great for forklifts. Yeah. Trump administration is loosening the federal rule that requires grocery stores and air conditioning companies to reduce greenhouse gases. The head of the EPA said the Biden administration rule imposes costly restrictions and limits the type of refrigerants U.S. businesses and families can use. Yeah, I mean, and so I mean, it's always great too. You know, no offense to the guy said he's just retired his business of 36 years. So yeah, I mean, all the guys who do that's what they do. Oh yeah, you're 36 years in the trade. Yeah, so it's your job to replace all the equipment and put shit in. So yeah, every air conditioning and HVAC guy and refrigerant guy is going to tell you, yeah, the new stuff's the best. Change all your shit and spend thousands of dollars to put all new shit in instead of the cheap shit that worked for years. It doesn't work as good, dude. Nothing does. Have you seen? So you're 36 years. So what's that fucking white milk that's coming out of every air conditioner now that clogs all the drain pipes, all the condensation lines? What is that guck that's coming out? What's that from? Doesn't look too healthy. And now they say, oh, you got to put lights in there to kill the bacteria. I'm sorry, dude. I'm just telling you, Joe. The shit don't work as good, and it's doing something. All right. 30, 40 years ago, you went and you had to clean a coil. It didn't look like that. It didn't have clogged clumps of white, some kind of material that looks like boogers coming out of an air conditioner. What is that? You know, what is that stuff? What's that stuff clogging my drain line that looks like boogers coming out of my air conditioner? All I'm told is I have to put vinegar in there, and somehow it's going to fix it. And vinegar is acidic, so I don't know. Trump needs to bring back incandescent bulbs. I thought they did. How does a sealed system create white shit? It's coming out of the air conditioner in the pipes. It's like white, it creates some kind of white guck. The condensate water has some kind of material in it coming out of the system. I don't know, man. I don't know. Explain it. I don't know. It's something that's made, whatever material now they're making the stuff with. It's fungus from the condensate. Well, I never had a problem with fungus from the condensate before. Oh, maybe it's because they switched everything from copper, which copper kills fungus. Why'd they switch everything from copper? Well, why'd they switch all the coils from copper? Because the new stuff they can't use copper with? Is that why? So now people have just mold all over the place in their house because of this new stuff that's try to bug sprays are no good compared to the old. Keep it clean. It is clean. It is clean. I'm telling you, the line's clogged with this stuff. You blow the line out and it looks like, you know, like if you took like toilet paper and you got it all wet and it was just like clumps of wet toilet. That's what it looks like blowing out of the line. You know. With voters' concerns over the cost of living spiking before pivotal elections, the Republican administration is trying to address affordability issues. It's not clear how much or how quickly the loosening of the refrigerant rule might ease grocery prices. I don't know if this is going to actually. I don't know if this is actually going to lower grocery prices right now. I mean, it's going to keep them from going up higher because if they don't have to change the systems, they're not going to have to eat that cost. Inflation increased to 3.9 annually in April amid price spikes due to the Iran war. So the administration's action on refrigerants represent a reversal after Trump signed a law in the first term that aimed to reduce harmful planet-warming pollutants emitted by refrigerants. The planet's warming because of the fucking sun. All right? The sun is what warms us. We're getting in more radiation because the magnetic field is weakening, letting in more shit. They know this is happening. I don't understand why we're playing this game. Yeah, maybe it got excited. Sploot now. Natural fertilizer is just copper roofing nails and wet mud creates a current for the roots. The 2020 law reflects a broad bipartisan consensus on the need to quickly phase out domestic use of hydrofluorocarbons. What do you mean? Aluminium? Aluminium? Copper is a special metal. Bacteria hates copper. Yeah, you know, I mean, like we used to use copper pipes for all our water, and that actually, I believe, helped you kill bacteria in the water. And now everything is plastic and other shit, and the people are getting sick from water and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah. It says, you nailed it. They used to make shit out of copper, which is naturally antimicrobic. Now they use all these cheap alloys, not as durable, not as clean. Yeah. Do you think it will cool again in the winter? Yeah. Yeah, the climate changes. It warms up in the summer and it cools again in the winter. Theory Thursday rules. Yeah, I know. I'll be there as soon as I'm done here. I'll be over there as soon as I'm done there. So EPA action highlights the second Trump term administration drive to roll back regulations perceived as climate friendly. No, they're not rolling back climate friendly. They're rolling back stupid regulations that really don't do anything. The 2020 law signed by Trump, known as the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, phased out HFCs as part of an international agreement on ozone pollution. U.S. Chamber of Commerce and American Chemistry Council top lobbying group were among numerous businesses that supported the law and an international deal on pollutants, known as the Kigali Amendment. Yeah, you know, why aren't other countries doing it? Why is it just us? Yeah, U.S. companies such as Chemours and Honeywell develop and produce alternative refrigerants. Oh, so they're for it because they're going to, come buy my stuff that we have the patent on and we can only produce it. The 2023 rule imposed steep restrictions starting in 2026. Zeldin said the rule from the Biden administration did not give companies enough time to comply, and the rapid switch to other refrigerants caused shortages and price increases. Some in the industry dispute this. No, it did. It caused a lot of stuff. Did you know that even a small volcano can produce as much CFC as into the air as man can produce 10 years? Yeah, that's why I know it's all bullshit. It's all this stuff, the climate change shit, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. We are coming out of an ice age. There's still ice. The planet is warming because we're coming out of an ice age. Hey, Sober VTech, what's up? To be honest, sometimes I think the global warming BS is because it's easier to tell people the field weakening means moving underground, nocturnal life, wearing SPF, oh my fucking God, or red ochre. Yeah, well, it's coming. It's fucking coming, people. Why do you think we were seeing, we see aurora borealis, northern lights, whatever you want to call it, in the skies in Puerto Rico and in Florida and in Texas. Why are we seeing those when there's, a minor solar activity? Because there's a chart. You can look at the power. We are at about 60 or 50% of full strength magnetic field right now. We're like halfway down. It's insane. Ice age means there's ice in the oceans. Yes, we're in an ice age right now. We are in an ice age. There are glaciers. There are icebergs. We are in an ice age right now. Turns out all the crap about Freon and ozone hole were BS. The ozone layer goes through natural cycles. The real problem is the patents on the Freon expired. Yeah. And also the ozone and the southern magnetic anomaly over the ocean is actually caused by stuff from the sun. Everything that happens to this planet is because of the sun. Freon is the trade name for DuPont's R12. Yeah, and that stuff worked the best. Fantastic. R12. God, that made cars so cold. You could literally, in a car that had an R12 AC, you could literally put a beer in front of the air blower and it would make that beer cold. It would cool it. It would chill that beer down. You could put they had cup holders that attached to the air vent, and you would put a beer or a pop, let's say, if you want to, because drunk driving is illegal. You put a warm sody pop in front of it. And in 10 minutes or so, it was ice cold. Ice cold. The AC and Heating Refrigeration Institute, which represents more than 330 manufacturers, said the change in approach would inject uncertainty across the market. Oh, and could even raise prices. The rule works against basic supply and demand, the group's president said. By extending the compliance deadline, the administration is maintaining and even increased demand. So the unit, the business that's in charge of all the people that run around and they're going to have to change all the shit and do all this work is upset that all the work isn't going to have to be done right now. Yeah. Press X to doubt. Manufacturers have already retooled product lines and certified models based on an existing timeline. 90% of all residential light commercial air conditioning systems use refrigerants rather than HFCs. It's only because the system was oversized. The manufacturers skimp on everything they can. I'm just saying, man. I don't know. This shit worked, man. R12 worked. R12 worked.
Diabetes treatment can cost hundreds of dollars a year. Who can afford that?
Thank you very much. It's a great honor. We have tremendous people behind me. You'll be hearing about that in a minute. Today is my honor to be discussing the taking of a very historic action to substantially lower costs for consumers, protect hundreds of thousands of jobs, and save Americans well over $2 billion a year by officially terminating the Biden administration's ridiculous regulations imposing costly requirements on refrigerators and air conditioners. It's ridiculous, unnecessary, and costly, and actually makes the machinery worse. I want to thank EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, Senators John Husted. John, thank you. I heard you're doing very well in your race, I hear. That's what the word is. And Ashley, I know you're doing very well also. Ashley Moody, Florida, great. As well as Representatives Stephanie Bice, Zach Nunn, and Craig Goldman. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all. You look good. We're joined by Kroger CEO. That's a big one. Kroger, that's a big, I see those stores all over the place. Greg Foran. Where's Greg? Greg? Very good. You look like Central Casting. Just like you're supposed to look. Fairway Store CEO Reynolds Kramer.
Mr. President.
Okay. Hello, Reynolds.
Hello there.
Maybe I won't look around every time. Why Not Stop CEO and co-owner Ann Guthier. Ann? Because it's Ann, I'm going to. Columbiana Foods co-owner Ron Graff Sr.
Right here. Right behind me.
Hello, Ron. Neiman Foods President Richard Neiman.
Right here, sir.
Hi, Richard. Piggy, well, that's a nice, Piggly Wiggly franchise owner. And that's a big company, too. It's actually a cute name. Kevin McDaniel. Where's Kevin? How is that name playing? Good?
Piggly Wiggly's doing great.
Piggly Wiggly. I've heard that, actually. That's great. Franchise owner, Kevin. So you met Kevin. And Food Fresh owner, Michael Gay. Food Fresh. Hi, Michael. How are you, Michael? And this is a representative group of very large-scale retailers. Under the Biden administration, the so-called technology transition rule, which was crazy, forced companies to adopt specific high-cost refrigerants, massively driving up the price of transporting and storing refrigerants and various goods. Many grocery stores and restaurants had no choice but to replace their refrigerators entirely. They went out of business, half of them. And these costs rose. Americans faced higher grocery prices and reduced access to critical medical supplies. It was a very catastrophic thing that they did. At the same time, this rule also drove up the cost of living by forcing consumers to purchase higher cost residential air conditioning units. They went up very substantially in cost, and also they were going to be obsolete very quickly. It created national security risk by adding additional hurdles to the already complicated process of manufacturing semiconductors. So it was a mess. Likewise, the so-called emissions rule imposed crippling leak repair requirements on virtually all existing large-scale refrigeration systems, hurting consumers and small businesses, making it almost impossible for many small businesses to even buy inferior equipment. And this is all across the country. The higher cost threatened thousands of jobs and was passed on in the form of higher prices and higher taxes. Today's reforms will deliver significant financial relief, saving American families and businesses more than $2.4 billion. Think of that, each year. Thanks to today's reforms, the American people have lower grocery prices, cheaper transportation of goods, a lower cost of air conditioning, at no detriment at all to our country. Zero, including environmental detriment. My administration's historic deregulatory agendas already saved our country an estimated $1.2 trillion. That's been done over a relatively short period of time. 1.2 trillion with a T. We're committed to fixing and really completely ending Biden's disastrous regulatory policies and delivering financial relief to each and every American, which is what we're doing. This was a tremendous burden, a tremendous cost. These people had to live with it, not only refrigerants, but a lot more. And it was making the equipment unaffordable. And the actual benefit was nothing. It just made it worse. Made life worse, and it made it worse, and it drove up costs tremendously. So now I'd like to ask Administrator Lee Zeldin, who's absolutely fantastic. He's doing an incredible job. We're proud of you, Lee. Really, the job you're doing is incredible. Followed by Greg, Kevin, and Michael. Is that okay? Lee, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, so we got that story, and then we got this story. What is this? Here. What is this? So the Senate GOP breaks for vacation, delays reconciliation vote to fund ICE. Student admits it's political hit against President Trump. The Senate GOP on Thursday. So listen, everybody. Is he going back to? He's going to bring back R12. That stuff was the best. I was in a restaurant business owner operator for 37 years. While I was in Germany in the 80s, we had a system using propane, which was one of the first ever refrigerants. The explosions were tremendous. Yeah. Guess Jim's teen car. Yeah, no, it was when Oh, guessing a Chevy, my teen car. No, my first. Well, I mean, my first car that I owned, the first car that I ever owned was a Buick Grand National. Uh, what you make of reports Iran talks look serious and are moving forward? That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. I don't know. I mean, you're either going to have to. What about the Joe Biden no gas stoves in New York? FJB. Yeah, fuck those people. 80s number lock. Yeah. When Senate's not on recess, do they get swing sets? I don't know. They should. Buick tank. Yeah, Buick. Yeah. Jim's first car was a Model T. No, it was a. Here's the Tillis. Okay, we'll pull that up. I was gonna say, I'm thinking I might end the show and send everybody over to Theory Thursday, and then just add the hour to tomorrow, the extra hour we got to tomorrow, because they've been waiting on me for a while over there to do that show. But I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys just want me to do an extra, add an automatic extra hour for tomorrow's show, and then head over to just go over to Theory Thursday and continue on there for a couple hours? You guys let me know. Massey and Cassie will go score Shirker mood hard less. Yeah, Grand National. Yeah. It's like a Buick. It's like a Buick Regal, but it had like a supercharged motor. No, an intercooler supercharged, something like that in it. It was pretty. Yes, that sounds good. All right, I think that's what I'll do. No, don't leave us. I'm not going to leave, Renee. I'm still going to be on. I'm going to be on I'm just going to jump onto that show, and I'll be on that show. So I'll still be on. It'll just be a show with more people talking about aliens. That's all. It's a 3.8 liter, 205 horsepower Buick Grand National. I thought it had more horsepower than that. I thought it had more horsepower than that. It had some kind of FBI chip in it or something that made it like the computer go faster. I don't know. It's Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. Theory Thursday. No. I'll put Bella on the screen if you want. I can put Bella on the screen over there, Miss Hacker. So anyway, so the Senate GOP voted on Thursday to delay the reconciliation vote. Your first car was a 68 Chevelle SS convertible. Oh my God, I am so jealous. Wow, I wish I could have had a car like that, a 396 SS. Grand National was sweet. Yeah, it was a nice car. It was used. It wasn't brand new or not like that. It was used. It was quite used. Don't admit it was a political hit job against President Trump. Last week, Senate parliamentarians struck down key provisions. The Senate representatives previously passed the Senate-approved package to fund Homeland Security by voice vote, ending the 75-day shutdown. It didn't have an 8-track. No. The 70 Chevelle. Oh, my God. You guys are all making me jealous. ICE and Border Patrol were to be funded separately through a reconciliation package. So the new reconciliation package has stalled after lawbreakers brought up concern over funding the Secret Service. 766 Mustang. Wow, you had a Mopar 385. Wow. Just coming in. KPT, awesome to see you. What do you think if Spain gets new government? Will they improve our relations? Well, if they stop screwing around. 68 Mustang 302 V8 hit on all four sides when I got it. $900. That's awesome. Was that a Windsor 302 Windsor or a 302? They had different names for them. You got it from Grandpa who bought a brand new one. That's awesome. That's awesome. Your first car was an 80 Chevy Malibu, minor money put in it, but we calculated it was a sole driver. It could possibly carry 6 to 8 kegs. Funny. Wow. What year? Buick? 87, 1987. I bought the NRJ record holder, a 55 Chevy 265 for $450 if the owner got challenged and refused to let them tear it down. It was turning 1256 cheating stock. Wow. That's a quarter mile, right? That's pretty good. 68. 72 Caprice with an 8-body trunk. That's fantastic. Only because I love General Motors F-16 engine. That's amazing. So, Republican senators delayed the reconciliation vote. McConnell lashed out at Trump and Blanche and said, "So the nation's top law enforcement is asking for a slush fund to pay people who assault cops. Fuck you, McConnell." So yeah, so they're mad. Senate Republicans' $72 billion package hit a snag. Senate Majority Leader John Thune admitted that Thursday's decision to delay the vote is also a political hit against President Trump. Oh, that's amazing. All right. You put a 302 in it. So, all right. I'm going to end the goal on YouTube. All right. I'm going to add for tomorrow, Friday night show will be automatically a 3-hour show no matter what. So, and then I will, let's do this real quick. We'll cover Tim Tillis and then I'll jump over to the other. Cocaine Mitch sliding into your DMs. Fuck him. There's only a 289. 59 El Camino. Clutch and pressure plate. Wow. That's tyranny. Tom Tillis blasts Trump's weaponization fund. Stupid on stilts. Payout pot for punks. Fuck him. Fuck this guy. Piece of shit. Let him go. That's right. Hit the. So this week went off on President Trump. The fund was created in exchange for Trump dropping the $10 billion lawsuit. Justice Department said Trump told reporters that the people that were horribly treated. Tillis will run out of the Capitol last day in his underwear. Yeah, he's going to get it. Yeah. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, in prison wrongly. They paid legal fees they didn't have to, that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Senate Republicans are already teaming up with the Demon Rats to kill the fund. Senator Brian Fitzpatrick, that's not a senator. That's a congressman. Brian Fitzpatrick's not a senator, leading the charge to draft the legislation. And I thought Fitzpatrick was a Democrat. Maybe I'm wrong. Tillis voiced his support to block the fund on Wednesday, saying in an interview that it's stupid on stilts. Well, unless you have 2/3, you're not going to bypass a veto. You're going to be sucking wind. $1,000 super chat. Wish you could. Well, you don't have to because I'm going to be ending. So yeah. So screw this guy. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. There's going to be a show. It'll be 3 hours at least, maybe more. Right now, I'm going to forward everybody over to BTM Reviews for on both YouTube and Rumble for Theory Thursday. I will be joining that right after IP. I will be jumping over there. And I'll even put Bella on the screen occasionally for everybody. But I want to thank everybody who was here. Please remember, hit the like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And come back tomorrow for Jim to tell you the news. I should do this first. Sorry. 1 second. I forgot to do this. Make sure everything's set. Make sure everything's set before I get crazy. All right. Yeah, come back tomorrow for Jim to tell you the news. We need more Somalian viewers. Yes. Gran Torino. That's great. All right, everybody. Go over to BTM Reviews. Go over the BTM Reviews, everybody. Come on back tomorrow for Jim to tell you the news.